All right, and we are live. Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Corbin Sales. I'm a liberal content creator, streamer, commentator, and pundit. You can find me on YouTube, X, Twitter, same thing, Instagram or TikTok. Today, I am hosting a debate, a very special conversation between four Republicans on whether or not Maga actually upholds conservatism. So the structure of this debate will be, we're gonna do introductions for everyone, then we're gonna do a 2-minute opener, and then after that, we'll have floor for open debate. I want to be as removed from the conversation as possible, so I only have 2 ground rules. 1, please try to not interrupt each other, and 2, try to stick to the topic as much as possible. All righty, Connor, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, politics, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran, and I would argue a never Trump, but also a real Republican. I think MAGA is departed.
We're doing introductions first, and then we're going to do openers after introductions.
My bad. Then cut it off at that part.
All right. Admiral Gibss.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Admiral Gibss, political and writing streamer, and here to talk about some fun stuff.
All right. North, introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm North. I am a Never Trump Republican, otherwise known as a Real Republican. You can find me on Twitter and on YouTube, fighting to retake the Republican Party. That's my main goal.
All right, and Luke, aka True Republicanism, introduce yourself.
What's good? I'm Luke. 15. I debated Corbin one time. I like getting into politics. Yeah, that's about it.
All righty. Now, Connor, opening statement. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, I think there's half a dozen political philosophies. One of them is from Edmund Burke. The other one is environmental conservatism. The other one is social conservatism. The other one is fiscal conservatism. And I think neoconservatism is the other one. And I think Trump fails on all 5 conservatisms. In reference to Edmund Burke, I could talk about his philosophy, but you're supposed to defer to institutions because institutions have wisdom. I think by trying to overthrow the Republic of the United States, Trump has proven that he's not a Burkean conservatism. He's not an environmental conservative because the Bureau of Land Management tried to sell tens of millions of acres of public land, effectively backstabbing the country. He's not a neoconservative because he slashed PEPFAR, slashed USAID, backstabbed Ukraine, and abandoned the world from a United States neoconservative perspective. He's not a social conservative because, in my opinion, there's credible evidence that he sexually abused 14 to 17-year-old girls, that he's currently participating in a cover-up to that effect, that he's cheated on his wife with a pornographic actress, and all in all, he's a massive piece of shit. I think he takes the Lord's name in vain by pretending to be Christian, but he's anti-Christian effectively. So I don't think he's a social conservative. I also don't think he's a fiscal conservative. Doge was supposed to cut $2 trillion from the American federal budget. They ended up recommending $150 billion worth of cuts to Congress. Congress only cut $10 billion, and that $10 billion is almost directly responsible for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of deaths over the next 5 years. So I think in reference to fiscal, social, neo, environmental, and Burkean, MAGA and Trump have failed in 5 separate categories of conservatism.
Alrighty. Excellent opener. Admiral Gibss.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, cool. Sorry.
Yep,
We're still trying out the new tech. Yeah, so I'm going to sit here, and I'm sure that my opponents here are going to sit here and try to tell you a lot of fugazi, ticky-tack, word game bullshit, which is exactly what we've already heard from Counterpoints opening. If we look at Trump, yeah, I agree. Trump's not what you'd call a traditional Republican. I'd argue he's a 90s dim. However, as we've seen, everything has moved to the left due to the Overton window shifting. And it's crazy that now I, an actual conservative, have to sit here and debate whether or not he is a conservative with some people here that I'm not even going to argue are rhinos. They're what we like to call DL, duplicitous liars. If we sit here and go down the list of things that Trump has done and list the policies that they're proposing, it's pretty clear which side is on the side of conservatism. We can look at issues like border control. We can listen to economic issues. We can look at other things all the way down. I'm sure we'll get into it. It's real simple. One of us is sitting here vouching for what actual conservative values are. The other one is going to sit here and dress up things in pretty little words and lies.
Thank you very much. All right, Luke.
Oh, shit. All right, yeah, so I think the best person to look at when you look at traditional conservatism is Ronald Reagan, right? One of the leaders, one of the most historical influencers of the Republican Party. One of the main things that he advocated for were reduced taxes. Trump has done this by delivering the largest tax cut in history. He reduced people who make 30 to 80K 15% less in taxes. He also reduced government spending. He ended taxpayer-funded sex changes. While you say Doge is ineffective, I still think it is a good attempt at reducing government spending. He also is a big fan of deregulation. He's incentivized Made in America, which he reward tax cuts to companies that make their products in America. And yeah, I think that's about as good as an opener as I'll give.
All right, Mr. North.
I think it's pretty clear that the current Maga movement is not conservative at all. They've abandoned every single principle that the Conservative Party or the Republican Party used to uphold. They are now the party of big government, increasing taxes, which, by the way, a tariff is a tax. They're the party of increased centralization within the federal government. They're the party of suggesting Second Amendment gun regulations. I mean, what are we talking about here? MAGA does not have any principles. All MAGA is populist. It's not conservative at all. That's all I have to say.
All right. Excellent openers from all of you. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
I mean, I don't think I heard a single refutation of anything I said. Luke said tax cuts, and Gibbs said border control. So that's
Gibbs, you're muted.
You could be a border hawk and be a fucking Democrat.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah, I mean, when we're sitting here talking about national sovereignty and we're talking about immigration, yeah, sure, we could be a Democrat. It's crazy that the '90s Dems have a more conservative position about protecting those things than the current Republicans at the time. But it's shifted, like I said, through the Overton window. We can tell that, yeah, now these things are conservative issues. We want smaller government. Doge is designed to do smaller government. Yeah, it could be taken advantage of by the Dems to grow bigger. But when we were sitting here talking about what's conservatism, you know what's not conservatism? Voting down ballot for everybody that's going to sit here and put forth socialist leftist policies. You can't tell me, hey, maybe you all have a problem with Trump, but when we're going to sit here and we're going to argue about the rest of the Republican Party, that you're going to go and vote down ballot for everybody else that's in the Bernie Bros camp, the AOC's camp, the Kamala camp, and say, hey, this is a good thing whenever you're actually arguing for conservative values. No, that's fake news. Sorry, don't believe it.
Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about you specifically. Are you arguing that you haven't advocated for down ballot voting for other Democrats?
I haven't.
Yes, you have.
Well,
you absolutely have.
I haven't.
You argued against the MAGA movement. You've never
argued
against Abbott, who's not a MAGA person. I can sit here and point to other
Abbott's
examples.
not a MAGA person. He
Abbott
literally
is
is weaponizing the National Guard to get arrest warrants against politicians that didn't want to show up. I mean,
yeah, well, Abbott's not a MAGA movement. I mean, if you know anything about Abbott,
okay. Do you think Greg Abbott, when doing his redistricting, was operating by himself?
I think that Abbott, when he was fighting the Biden administration about the border.
No, under the Trump administration, under the redistricting.
This is a ridiculous obfuscation, right? First of all, like I said, when he was fighting Biden, he was doing it by himself. If you know anything about Abbott, Abbott's basically a Texas nationalist.
We're not talking about Biden. This is
hold on. We are talking about conservatism, right? We're talking about what is conservatism. That's what I was told the panel was about.
Can you define it?
Is it in relation to what Joe Biden does?
List all these nuances. When I'm sitting here talking about conservatism, I can look to somebody like Abbott, who's basically a Texas nationalist, who's been fighting for these kind of movements, who helped the Republican Party in Texas absorb the Texas national movement, who's argued to sit here for border control. He's argued for lower government, smaller government. He's argued for more economic freedom. And then I sit here and go, oh, y'all are working against this guy who's been doing this for 40 years, since before Trump was even a fucking a public official. And then you're going to go, he's MAGA. Yeah, that's just a dumbass take.
Yeah, Greg.
Yeah, but Gibbs, you already blew up your own argument, though, because you said 90s Dems supported border control. So were 90s Dems conservatives?
They would be conservatives by today's metric. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. So hold on. Can you define conservatissim real quick?
Can you define conservatism?
Yeah, I can. I can define 5 different kinds of conservatism. Do you want me to?
So you just did. And here's my point. Conservatism can be defined by a plethora.
Wait, did you ask a question and then keep talking? Because that's kind of annoying.
Yeah, it is. It's because it's rhetoric, my son. Maybe you should look it up in a book how to do it. It's good stuff. You know what I'm saying? But if you're going to sit here and give us all
No.
this bullshit about Burke and conservatism, I'm just going to sit here and start comparing all your policies that you propose to National Socialism, which are basically the same thing. So we just know this is Fugazi word games, if we're being honest.
Okay. So I could define environmental, neocon, social con, and fiscal conservative if you want. Do you want me to?
No, not particularly, because I'd rather not be bored out
Okay.
of my mind for the next 30 minutes.
Okay. So do you want to talk about how there's 5 different fiscal conservative philosophies and Trump fails on all of them?
Sure. Let's hear how he does that. Go ahead.
Okay. So he's not a fiscal conservative because fiscal conservatism is about making sure that we don't destroy the country through reckless debt. Luke made the argument that we could just start with one. Let's start with fiscal conservatism.
Sure.
Luke made the argument that the reason why Donald Trump is a conservative is because he cut the federal budget. However, he omitted the fact that he cut the federal budget by 0.16%.
Hey, that's a start.
And he cut taxes.
That's called, that's good. That's a good thing.
And it's called running a $10 trillion deficit. That's not fiscal conservative.
Oh, yes. Listen, hold on. Hold on.
Hold on. One at a time. One at a time. I will mute you. Everyone, one at a time.
Admiral Gibs, I have a very important question.
Sure.
Does the Trump administration, led by the current Maga Republican Party, increasing the deficit by $10 trillion, is that fiscal conservatism? Yes or no?
It could be. It could be.
It's not.
It's not. That is not what fiscal. Oh my gosh.
It could be if the intent.
Respond.
If the intent is to eventually get rid of it, right? We look at things like fiscal conservatism.
There's no intent to get rid of it.
You know what is
Oh
fiscal
my gosh.
conservatism? Cutting taxes. That is fiscal conservatism. You're cutting.
No, it's not.
taxes
Not
on
if you're
the
running a
hand.
higher
Fiscal-
deficit. You don't know what
Okay.
words mean.
Second-
This is why talking to you is like talking to a monkey.
Holy shit.
Secondly, when I sit here and look at, I know I'm surprised we haven't brought the tariffs, but here's something crazy. Whenever I could go look at the tariffs and we posted a surplus in the last 2 months, that is fiscal conservatism, and that's working against the deficit. Would you agree that a government posted a
Admiral
surplus
Gibs, what is a tariff? What is a tariff?
Is a tariff? What do you think a tariff is? Because I know
It's an
what a tariff
import
is.
tax. That's what it is.
It's an import tax.
That's what
I've never heard that argument before. How about it's a negotiation tactic used by a government against foreign governments in order to achieve a goal? Would you agree that a tariff is also that?
No, okay. You are running 2 separate lines of, you're doing the double thing. You're doing the
called-
double
it's
thing.
called-
Okay,
it's called holding
you
two
can have
ideas in your
two.
hand.
You can have 2 arguments, right? You can have one argument that tariffs are a negotiating tactic,
Which
they're
they are.
temporary and they're meant to be discarded. Or you can have the argument
Or
that
not.
tariffs are increasing revenue for the federal government so that they can pay off the deficit. You can't maintain both of these lines of arguments at the exact same time.
I absolutely can.
No, you can't. No, that's literally contradictory with each
No,
other.
it's not.
It's
North,
double
North,
think. That's what it is.
Let Gibbs
It's not
respond.
double think. It's not double think. It's real simple. It's called situational awareness. I know that's something that you're confused about, clearly, right? So if I have a situational problem, where hey, I put a tariff on a country, and we renegotiate trade deals, and then we leave the tariff there, or we have a reduced tariff, but it's higher than it was before. Guess what? A, we can negotiate a deal. And then B, we can lower the deficit if it stays in place. Those are 2 things that can absolutely happen at the same time. And if you're saying that's not happening, then you're just retarded.
Okay, so you're in favor of negotiating. Okay, you're in favor of tariffs, or you think that tariffs are being used as a negotiation, but in the end, you also want the tariffs to be increased?
That's not what I said.
That is what you said. You said that in the end, the tariffs will be increased
That's not what I said.
on our side. That is what you said.
No. That's
Yes.
So
that's
you
not
love
what I said.
taxes.
Yeah,
Taxes
you
are good.
You love taxes?
No, what I said once again was
Taxes
it's
are awesome.
situational. It's once
Fiscal
again I said
conservative,
it's
by the way,
situational.
loves taxes.
It
Good
is
job,
You
Gibbs.
love
It's
taxes.
amazing.
That's what he is.
Hold on, one at a
He's
time.
the
Everyone one at a time.
Tax.
North,
No.
everyone one at a time. I'm going to let Connor go, and then Gibbs, and then I want to see if Luke wants to comment on anything.
Dude,
after that.
you don't need to.
Right.
Like we don't know what words mean, okay? Fiscal conservatism does not mean running a $10 trillion deficit. Fiscal conservatism does not mean increasing the largest consumer tax increase in probably a century. That's not fiscal conservatism. So we're not even... We don't even agree. Like, dude, we can't have a complex conversation about policy because we don't even agree what words mean.
Yeah, I mean, this is funny. I love the idea that
This is funny.
Yeah,
Get
it is
funny.
funny.
I don't know what
Yeah,
fiscal
I mean,
conservatism
just
is.
interrupt
Let
you.
kids respond.
Yeah, I mean,
Get funny. Get
This is what
funny.
I-
Raising
this-
taxes.
Connor, let
Raising
kids
taxes
respond.
is fiscal
Well, this is
conservatism.
Connor,
what-
I'll
this is-
mute you. Let kids
Well,
respond.
I mean, I'll tell you what's funny. I will tell you what's funny is this great Mensa candidate over here sitting here with his great background in, I don't know, being basically a glorified UPS driver in the military is going to explain to me what fucking words mean. That's fucking hilarious. It's a goddamn retarded is what it really is. And I'll tell you another thing is Berkey conservatism, which Connor has sat here and tried to argue many, many times, is basically just progressivism pretending to be conservatism, right? So I don't want to sit here and hear anything about what words mean from a duplicitous liar who does actually try to get Democrats elected down ballot that are not just
Okay.
oh, I hate MAGA. So when you're going to sit here and say this bullshit, like at least I'm impressed you can say it with a straight face because it's honestly a very good lying tactic. I'm very impressed with you. Good job.
Okay, am I muted or no?
No, you're good.
fine.
I want to.
Okay,
I wanna-
so hold on.
hold on.
So to summarize what was just said, I'm a liar, but fiscal conservatism is cutting taxes and adding $10 trillion to the deficit over the next 5 years. And fiscal conservatism is raising the highest consumer taxes in a century. That's fiscal conservatism.
No,
All right, I wanna
fiscal
pull-
conservatism. First, fiscal
Gibbs, that's the
conservatism.
dumbest shit
Hold on.
I've ever heard in
Fiscal
my life.
conservatism.
Hold on,
First,
It's like
I
talking
want
to a
before-
different
I want
fucking
to-
Before anyone,
philosophy.
hold on. Before anyone responds to anything, I want to give Luke a chance to butt in here because he hasn't spoken much yet. Luke, do you have
Oh, yeah.
anything
Luke
to
is too
respond to
busy
anything that
playing on
Connor
his
said?
phone.
What?
Connor, do you have?
How is Trump
Luke, do you
fiscal
have-
conservative, Luke?
Well, I mean, as I said earlier, he sticks to a lot of the core beliefs. While he does stray from a lot of ideas, and he's not typically 100% with the path. One thing he has done that a lot of conservatives have done throughout the years is really bringing Republican voters, like out to vote and really encouraging them to vote, which is one thing that we can all appreciate as conservatives.
Okay, hold on. How is he a fiscal conservative, Luke?
Well, as I said, he sticks to some of the core beliefs that I mentioned earlier.
Well, hold on. So can you respond to the
you-
fact that I told you a moment ago, you said that he cut federal spending. What I came back to you with, which I did not add an addendum to, I love this addendum. He cut, okay, Doge said they were going to cut $2 trillion. That's 33% of the federal budget. Doge ended up recommending $150 billion to Congress, which, while, not as big as $2 trillion, it's a fuckload of cash. We can agree with that. What ended up getting passed, though, in the rescissions package was $10 billion, which was 0.16% of the budget. And not only that, $6.5 billion of this package is projected to kill 3 million people over the next 5 years.
Oh, hold on, that is
Hold on, that's not even getting into account the fact that the Shias are cutting.
Hold on,
We don't even have to talk about
Everyone
that.
shut up and let Luke respond.
Yeah, I'd love it.
I'm just curious to whereas you got the idea that's going to kill 3 million people.
No, hold on,
Okay,
Luke.
so
Before he
there's-
goes, before he
Gibbs,
goes,
he asked
Luke,
me a
hold on,
question.
I don't
He
care.
asked
You
me a
interrupted
question.
me 3 times now.
Gibbs, let
Luke,
Connor respond.
Okay, let the chimpanzee talk, and then I'll go
I would
after
like to
him.
go as soon as he's done. Yeah, okay.
No, I'll wait for the chimpanzee. Go ahead.
No, Connor.
Okay, that's fine. I'll be the chimpanzee. I'll play
Am I the
game. It's fine.
chimpanzee or is
No,
Gibbs
I'm the
or who is
chimpanzee.
the
The Mensa UPS driver is calling me a chimpanzee. But all right, so what I'm sitting here talking about is when he's talking about, what's fiscal conservative? Connor's complaint is Doge didn't do enough, and so therefore it's not fiscal conservatism. That's fucking stupid. At least it's a start, right? As opposed to what Connors likes to vote for, which is, hey, let's give $6 million to, I don't know, let's have drag queens doing dancing in Haiti or some bullshit. That's what he thinks fiscal conservatism is. When I'm sitting
Okay,
here talking
now-
about fiscal conservatism,
Okay,
when I'm, hold on, I'm not done.
Is the
When I'm
ab
sitting here
human done yet?
When I'm talking about fiscal conservatism, we're going to use Nazi buzzwords again. Big surprise there. But anyway, when I'm sitting here talking about fiscal conservatism, I'm talking about changes that benefit the economy and shrink government, right? Which Doge absolutely does with the intent to shrink government under the Trump administration. I'm talking about, he's made trade deals and he's sitting here put tariffs that are going to benefit us here and cause local prices maybe to go up initially and then drop after we build the supply chains locally, just like the big grocer HEB, the number one grocer in America, the Walmart model. Now, if Connor actually understood economics, he would understand how this works. But since the man's biggest economic thing is working for Uncle Sam, he doesn't fucking know shit.
Okay, now that the orangutan's done,
Good
Luke. So
I know I mogged you. That's
PEPFAR,
why you call me that.
PEPFAR costs $6.5 billion per year. It was passed by bipartisan legislation by George W. Bush in 2003. PEPFAR provides retroviral medication for HIV and AIDS. That way, women in Africa who have HIV will not pass on HIV to their kids. And then also people who already have HIV won't die from the disease. This is credited with saving 25 million human lives over the past 20 years. That was part of the 0.16% budgetary cuts.
And
So
is
it
that
is
fiscal
predicted in the next
conservatism,
5
Connor? Is that
years
fiscal
to kill
conservatism?
3 million people.
Wait, hold on. How does 25 million people die, which is doubtful at best, have anything to do with fiscal conservatism? I would say arguing that's liberalism at best and progressivism at worst when we're going to sit here and say, hey, let's use American tax dollars to pay for fucking Zambians.
Well, we could go to neoconservatism next since you don't understand fiscal conservatism.
Well,
but I would
mean,
like
you clearly
Luke.
don't because you're equating millions of people dying to economics.
No.
which has nothing to do with
I
me today.
didn't. You did, but that's because you're
that's what you
not
just
fully
said.
human. Like
Yeah,
I have
well,
6% Neanderthal DNA. I'm pretty sure you're cooking like 10 to 20%.
Admiral
At
Gibs,
a
do you
scale chart,
understand
it's
at all,
crazy.
like, spending money now to prevent, like, shit from happening in the future? Like, do you understand that concept?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I mean, I'm definitely familiar
Okay,
with the
so
idea. Hold
you
on.
think-
I'm familiar with the idea of the pain now
Okay,
and
you
there's the
think
pain
that it
later.
might-
When I explain how fiscal
Do you
conservatism
think
is
it
leading
might
supply
be-
chains to be
Okay,
established here
Admiral,
versus
shut the fuck up while I'm
we're going to be spending
talking,
money over.
motherfucker.
You asked me a question. Hold on. Hold on. You asked me a question. I got to answer the question. I got to answer the question you just asked me. If you're going to ask me if I understand how this works and I explain how fiscal conservatism is a policy that's going to lead supply chains here, the paying now or the paying later, which is going to
You answered
reduce
my
costs
question, then you're
later.
going on this whole fucking tangent. Oh my
Hold on,
god.
this because they're related. I know it's hard for you to follow the point. If I'm going to build a supply chain here, and which is what Trump's doing with the tariffs, that is fiscal conservatism, not whatever bullshit you're saying. Well, we raise taxes, and then do whatever. Come on, give me a break.
No. You know what tariffs are? Tariffs aren't fiscal conservatism. Tariffs are protectionism. It's isolationism. That's what it is.
Oh, it's isolationism.
It's protectionism. It's social. That's what I'll call it, socialist even. It's
Okay. I have hope that Luke is a member of the human species. I would like to hear him address what I said.
Luke.
So we
yeah,
cut
but-
0.16% of the
We didn't
budget.
say
You
to
said it was a
Connor.
step in the right direction. I said that is projected to kill 3 million people over the next 5 years. What's your response?
Well, we obviously know that there are other problems going on in the world, right? A lot of problems that could save lives, right? And we could address almost every single country in that matter, right? The question is, how far are you willing to go with spending in that? You know, do we take every country and try to solve all of their problems for them?
No, but if you wanted to move to neoconservatism, so Gibbs said, okay, well, spending money on foreign soft power is not fiscal conservatism. I agree. It's not fiscal conservative to spend money on foreign countries when you're already running on debt. However, neoconservatism, philosophically, Reagan was probably the biggest neoconservative in American history, next to Teddy Roosevelt. Okay. He believed that American soft power and hard power should be projected overseas in order to defend the free world. And I would argue that while PEPFAR and USAID are not fiscally conservative because we're spending $10 billion overseas, I would argue that they are bastions of neoconservatism, which is spreading the influence of the free world via soft power and military power. So if you guys want to move to how Trump is not a neoconservative, I'd be happy to discuss that as well.
Neocons don't even agree with you. Like, this is what's insane. You're arguing first.
Do you believe in neoconservatism, Admiral Gibbs? Admiral Gibbs.
He admitted just now that those programs that he was asking Luke about, whether we're not fiscally conservative, hashtag in thread Rhino, right? Like, not even a Rhino, like I said, duplicitous lying snake oil salesman. That's what we got right here. Thank you.
Admiral Gibbs, are you a neocon? Just out of curiosity.
I would argue that I used to be, maybe.
No, so you aren't. Okay. Do you think that Maga is a represents neoconservatism?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so then we don't even have to address that. You agree with us that Maga is not neoconservative at all.
Okay,
I would say
we
the
move
populist
on,
right.
Before we move on, I would like to ask Luke though, because he used Reagan as the pinnacle of conservatism. So Reagan was an avid anti-communist hawk. He ran deficits and spent shitloads of cash on the military and spent shitloads of cash on foreign interventions in order to burn out the Soviet Union. So do you think that Reagan in this regard is not conservative, I suppose, would be one question. And I guess the follow-up question is, do you think that Trump is following in Reagan's footsteps in that he's advocating for American power on the world stage? Because I would actually argue that MAGA is largely a movement that's trying to be increasingly isolationist.
Well, my first question to you be, why do you think that we want to be isolationists in a sense of world power?
I would say that if I was to steel man the MAGA movement, they're sick of spending trillions of dollars overseas without a discernible result. They're sick of the blowback from foreign wars. They're sick of being involved in the Middle East and North Africa. They're sick of Europe sleeping under the protective blanket that we provide them. And they're sick of Asian countries sleeping under the security blanket that we provide them. So they want to withdraw from the world stage.
Well, as we saw, the MAGA movement was, when the Iran war first broke out, was heavily supportive of Donald Trump's decision. People like Charlie Kirk, God rest his soul, were heavily supportive of it. He even said himself, the Iranians gave Trump no choice but to come to the table, right? And the MAGA movement, say what you want, we're right there behind him, right? So, I think the idea that Americans want to be removed from the world stage is, I wouldn't say is entirely true. Also, Trump was the first one to meet with Putin in a while. So it was the first one to meet with Putin since the Russia-Ukraine war broke out. So we're obviously trying to get our feet in the game here.
My counter argument to this, because this is something that I'm actually pretty passionate about, is that Donald Trump in his first few months in power brought Zelensky to the White House, embarrassed him on purpose, cut off intel sharing, cut off munitions, cut off the ability for them even to sell weapons to Ukraine. And as a result, thousands, if not tens of thousands of Ukrainians died. So why? And then you brought up Israel. What I would say is that Trump has taken extreme amounts of heat from the MAGA base because they say, oh, he's MAGA. He's make Israel great again. He's a simp for Israel. So as an example, I agree with you. He was interventionist in reference to Israel and Iran, but I think that Ukraine is the perfect example of him withdrawing from the world stage.
Well, the reason why I use this example is because you said that Trump wanted to move away from the world stage. Whether you agree with those decisions or not, you have to agree that it's a point to be a part of that world stage and to try to take action. Whether you agree with the actions.
But I would argue that attempting to withdraw from the world stage and only coming out when an important ally gets attacked would be a movement towards isolationism, and therefore it would be an example of Trump and the MAGA movement not being a neoconservative movement.
In which sense did he pull out?
I would say that screwing over Ukraine the way that he did. And then also I would say that the Iranian policy was fairly limited, where effectively it was just strikes against the nuclear sites and then he backed away.
Yeah, this is a dumbass foreign policy take. Hold on, I gotta say something here. First of all,
I'll
because
you're
sitting,
Gibbs.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, my brother. But when I'm sitting here hearing what he's saying, it's just rampant idiocracy. Okay, first of all, Ukraine is, for all intents and purposes, not even a first-tier client state. They're a second-tier client state. And when you have an uppity son of a bitch like Zelensky, who's arguably not even actually elected the proper way, but we don't have to dive into that, and because I'm actually pro-funding the Ukraine war, when we're sitting here having an uppity bitch like Zelensky come in here and not even wear a suit to the White House because he wants to send a message or some bullshit, and then he's going to sit here and ask Dad and Trump Trump and Daddy America for some money. And yeah, guess what? You're going to play by our rules. And so when he got uppity, he got slapped like the little bitch ass he was. And now, guess what? We just opened up even more funding and even more weapons just within the last week, like the Tomahawk deal, more than Biden ever gave. We also negotiated a mineral rights deal with Ukraine. These are all expanding American power under the neocon principle. We can look at Iran. You know what's expanding American power? When we go in there and bomb the fuck out of them with using our old tech that's getting replaced by the B-23 Raider or B-21 Raider, and we had the B-2 bomber. We're getting old tech going in there and dropping bombs on them. And guess what? They have no idea what's happening. And then we have Israel handing all our weapons for us. Why would we deploy U.S. troops to the Middle East where it's just a quagmire? Instead, when we can just let Israel whoop their ass for us effectively. And then finally today, it looks like Hamas has capitulated. So it looks like once again, Trump dub, crying baby back bitches here, zero.
So hold on. Is MAGA neoconservative or not?
Yeah.
I mean, in some respects, they can be. It's all, once again, situational. It doesn't matter whether or not it's actual, traditional, exact neoconservatism, whenever we are more to the right than what you are proposing. You're proposing for socialism. That's not that's not conservative at all.
No. If I was a socialist here,
one at a time.
I don't know your positions, so I don't know. I can't speak to that, but I know his positions, and they're socialist, borderline national socialist. No.
Admiral Gibss, I can say that you're the socialist here for supporting Donald Trump, especially with when it comes to Trump literally taking over parts of U.S. companies. You think Trump buying like 10% of Intel stock? You think that's not socialist at all?
Do I think that Trump? Sure, I would argue that it is somewhat socialist.
It's somewhat socialist?
Yeah. Guess what? Every big government is somewhat socialist. I mean, I don't want to turn into Fabian Liberty and start arguing about these kind of bullshit.
Government. Hold on, I thought Trump was shrinking the government. What's this whole big government thing?
Hold on. It is shrinking. However, when you're talking about economic gain and Trump's an economic guru, you know what? Guess what? If they decide they're going to invest in stock and stimulate the American economy, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm a libertarian. Yeah, it is a little bit socialist. There are some socialist aspects to the United States government in general. So if they're going to buy stocks in order to increase our economic benefit, I'm all for that if they can actually see it work. Now, you think Intel is going to go down in cost as we sit here and have supply chains built and chips built here? No, absolutely not. Instead, what we're probably going to
No. What my concern about is I'm a promoter of free market economics, and I don't like it when the government is interfering with our free capitalist market, because that's what they're doing right now. They're creating a conflict of interest. And you can argue that they're maybe like artificially raising the prices of the stock, but that doesn't actually do anything for like the economy at all. It just makes it look like better superficially. Like if you pump like $15 trillion into the economy, right? That doesn't mean that the economy is going to be doing better. Like maybe on paper you could say it's doing better.
No, but let me ask you a question. All right. So and I've talked about this a lot. This is the big reason I got into like the debate world is because how it was affecting me locally, right? When I'm sitting here looking at certain industries, and I'm going to speak to ranching once again, and I can look at subsidies, right? Going to certain industries where they actually absolutely crushed one industry at the benefit of the other, and then eventually crash, right? Like corn subsidies, like we have some of these grain subsidies, right? All these things, they end up leading to a crash. Sure, I agree in socialist aspect that would be bad. I don't like that. In fact, I'm a rancher. I don't want beef subsidies, even though we'll probably get something. I don't want that, right? Because I think that's bad. Hold on. When I look at these things, yeah, there are some aspects to go. However, if I'm looking for economic gain and I'm an Intel stockholder and I'm looking for future investments, I think the U.S. government, when they're pushing stuff like tariffs, which are going to and then have trade deals with Rwanda for rare earth minerals, I think, yeah, it behooves us in situational circumstances to maybe play the game. I'm not a full-on libertarian, and unless you're a full-on libertarian, you also believe in some sort of government control over certain areas. And this is one of those times where we're going to have benefits to them doing it. Oh, so then you're a libertarian or what?
I believe in free market economics. I think the less you have a more prosperous capitalist economy, the less interference the government puts into it. Like, is that not?
Sure.
So we can agree with that, right?
Would you agree that, like, of the two choices that we've had, like I'm not going to argue about the primary. Maybe you voted for somebody else in the Republican primary. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know your history. If we're going to sit here and argue that when it comes to election time, right, and it's Kamala Harris, the one who wants to use socialist policy spending, like spending American taxpayer dollars on programs like dance classes for Haitian male prostitutes in Haiti, or I don't know. This is a real one. This is one she actually advocated for to the ACLU, spending taxpayer dollars on. I know it's hilarious. It's crazy socialist. Taxpayer dollars
Can
on
you say that one more time, please?
Yeah, this is a real thing. You can look it up.
Haitian male prostitutes.
Yeah, this is a real thing.
Transgender surgery.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. That was illegal aliens. You wanted illegal aliens to get transgender surgeries. That was actually a policy she advocated to the ACLU. You can look that up. Now, Trump was lying when he said that. And then secondly, right now, the government shut down by the party that you're arguing against, the Never Trumpers, the Dems. They're the ones who are actually advocating to shut the U.S. government down. Find out for the soft power that Connor wants. One of those things being $3.6 million to Haiti for baking classes and dance classes for Haitian male prostitutes. This is a real policy happening right now. I guess that's not socialist.
Look,
Okay.
Admiral Gibbs, when he entered this conversation, he was trying to obfuscate. What's the proper? How do you say it? Obfuscate.
Yeah.
He was basically saying that me and Connor were going to be telling lies, bending the truth. But in reality, when you look at what Admiral Gibbs is saying, it's so fucking batshit insane, and he's lying through his teeth. Like, I would love for people to just recognize that everything that's coming out of his mouth is just untrue. It's completely ridiculous.
True. I literally today, Senator Kennedy came out and was just talking about it. I could point to multiple senators today talking about it. We could talk about it. It's literally in the funding bill that the Dems put forth, saying, "Hey, if we want this to be passed, if we want the government not to be shut down, you have to re-implement these things." So no, I'm not lying. Maybe just open up a book or maybe turn on the news.
Open up a book, yeah, obviously.
All right, and
that's where I'll find the transgender Haitians getting their.
I mean, nobody's saying anything about transgender.
I want to see if we can pull Luke. I want to see if we can pull Luke back in. Luke, did you have any commentary on anything that's happening so far?
Hold on. What real quick? We go to North. Are you disagreeing that Kamala to the ACLU said this?
I haven't heard of it at all. No.
Okay, well then, once again, don't laugh because it sounds ludicrous. When Trump said that on TV, I was in a debate with a bunch of people. We were all watching it live.
You know what they say?
I laughed just like you did, and I said, "Ha, that's crazy. No way, that's fucking true." Google. Guess what? Fucking
yeah,
true.
No, it's not up for me to Google your own claims.
I don't have. I gave you the claim.
Right.
I mean,
no, you gave me a claim and you provide evidence. I'm not going to justify your claim.
Hold on. Shut the fuck up, both of you. Shut the fuck up. All right, you guys had your little spat. Luke, did you have any response to anything that North or Connor may have said?
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to what me and Counterpoint were debating about. Whereas Trump doesn't want to be involved in the world main stage. While you gave arguments about how the things he did were wrong, which we could talk about all day if you'd like, but how he wants to go away from the world main stage is I wouldn't necessarily agree with that.
Okay. Well, what I would do just to split the difference, because we still, if we're tracking the thread of the conversation, I think I made the argument that there's 5 separate conservatisms that I don't think Trump is. North and I think are in agreement that we've articulated why we don't think Donald Trump is a fiscal conservative. I think that's relatively clear. For neoconservatism, I'll split the difference with you. And I will say that, as an example, Trump's talked about abandoning NATO, right? He's talked about withdrawing from NATO. That's unconscionable to me. That's horrific. It's one of the most horrific things that I've ever heard from a geopolitical perspective. However, Trump likes playing 5D chess and using leverage and being hyperbolic about stuff to get what he wants. And through that rhetoric in Trump 1.0, he actually got the Europeans to increase their funding for NATO. So if you want to split the difference, and also MAGA typically uses neoconservative as a slur. So if you guys want to say that Trump is an appropriate level of American interventionist on the world stage, he's just not as interventionist as neoconservatives want him to be. I could give him a 0.5 in the neoconservative category if we wanted to split the difference.
Well, talking from a very objective view of just being involved in the world stage better than previous leaders, as you might say. Reagan, obviously, during the time of the Cold War, Bush during the time of the Iraq War, obviously played a much bigger role than he is playing right now. But I think from a standpoint of him being the most involved through a foreign conflict view, and through an economical view, he is very involved in the world main stage, which is what we've seen from previous conservatives.
But just as an example, though, so the reason why, in my opinion, this is antithetical to neoconservatism, though. So this is where I was willing to break bread and just say maybe he's a little bit more interventionist than my criticisms allow for. However, a neoconservative, somebody who believes that republicanism and democracy should spread throughout the world through free trade, cultural influence, American soft power, and American hard power, no neoconservative would have cut PEPFAR. No neoconservative would have cut USAID. No neoconservative would have reduced the CIA's role on the main stage. No neoconservative would have started a trade war with allies. That would have never fucking happened. So that's where, for me, like, I kind of feel like, Gibs is laughing. You kind of have to decide whether or not neoconservative is a slur. If neoconservative is a slur in an insult, then I don't know why you would just say Trump isn't a neoconservative and that's a good thing. That would be the end of this segment.
And okay, Admiral Gibbs talked about before saying that he doesn't think that MAGA is neoconservative, for one. And for two, what was Trump's foreign policy talking point when he was campaigning? It was no new wars. Would you consider that neoconservative?
Sure. Well, hold on. Yeah, I mean, I would argue that no, that is not neoconservative. However, once again, by the way, I just want to point out, this is to the moderator as well. We've had total bad faith by the part of these two, especially North just now. And I want to point this out. He asked me, he said it's not his job to find a source after I made a claim, even though I made the source, told the source in the claim I made. Now I posted a source for both the other claims I made, and let me just list some other stuff from the bill that the Dems are. These all sound crazy. This is what they were sitting there pushing out. The lawmaker listed out nearly $20 million in foreign aid funding that he alleged Democrats had their eyes on, including $4.2 million for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex people in Western Balkans and Uganda, $3.6 million for pastry cooking classes and dance focus groups for male prostitutes in Haiti, $6 million for media organizations for the Palestinians, and $3 million for circumcisions and vasectomies in Zambia. Now, you could argue maybe under the soft power principle that, hey, it could be neoconservative. However, even a neoconservative who wants to cut government spending would absolutely cut funding like things for $3.6 million for pastry cooking classes in Haiti. Secondly, the other thing I said, which was the ACLU thing, I posted the fucking link in there. This is from CNN. If he doesn't like the one about I just posted from Fox News, because CNN is notorious for being extremely far right, they are the ones who admitted that Kamala lied during her presidential election campaign and said she didn't say this after Trump claimed she did do this on the national debate stage. And guess what? I had the source and she did fucking say that. And here's a cool quote from Kamala. This is our comparison. If I have to pick which side's more conservative, Trump or, hey, the populist righty, who's maybe not a neocon, but he's a populist righty, or the left socialist leader who says Harris, this is an exact quote from Harris, executive authority to ensure transgender and non-binary people who rely on the state for medical care, including those in prison and immigration detention, will have access to comprehensive treatment associated with gender transition, including all necessary surgery. Okay. Now, I'm not bashing anybody that wants to be trans. I'm not bashing anybody that wants to be any of these things. I don't care. If you want to do that, more power to you. I don't care. However, if you're telling me that it is conservative to fucking go and pay for illegal immigrants to get those surgeries, then you're out of your goddamn mind.
Well, Admiral Gibbs, you're reading from the Fox News article, right?
No, I'm reading from the CNN article now. Thanks, okay, but good try.
Okay. Well, I was just curious. Look, the problem with these articles is they can claim whatever the fuck they want. We can agree with them, right? No, hold on.
Let North respond.
They can claim whatever the fuck they want, but as long as I'd like to see the actual bill themselves instead of someone saying that's like what's in the bill, like fucking dance classes in Palestine. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about there.
Well, okay, so it's not my fault that you don't know this. I provide sources and you provide jack shit.
That's not okay. Do you understand the difference between a primary and a secondary source? Like, do you understand?
Maybe it's the first debate.
Don't speak over each other.
Primary
Both
source
of you
is
don't
Kamala
speak.
Harris saying this herself. That's a primary source.
Admiral Gibson, you claiming that CNN is a source is like a high schooler using a news article for their her
direct words. They quoted her direct words. Are you retarded? No, that is a primary source. Or is the person
talking about?
Is the Kamala saying XYZ and them quoting that? Is that a primary source? Yes or no?
It's a secondary source because
no, it is a first source. Oh my God! It's a primary.
Okay,
you are goddamn.
Link me Kamala saying this.
Link me Kamala saying this. They're both in the chat.
You put it in the private chat.
I mean, maybe read a book or watch the news because you're sitting here showing it's your first time debating with the big boys. It's crazy that you're going to call out me for sources when I provided two, and you purported bubkiss.
Let's see here now.
Okay. So what do you guys want to do in reference to neocon? Because I think, Luke, my argument would be that Trump is substantively less committed to neoconservatism than a neoconservative. I think Gibs, despite going on a rant, would probably agree. He would just say that that's a good thing. Because neoconservatives love they love foreign intervention. They love spending money internationally. They love trans drag shows. They fucking like Colombians streetwalking trans prostitutes putting on an art show for the Colombian embassy. Neoconservatives fucking love that shit. So I'm assuming that Admiral Gibbs would say that's cringe, that's fucked up, we shouldn't do that.
I would agree that spending money would be on foreign wars and expanding American influence through war would be a neocon position. Sure. Yeah. However, I would argue that yes,
that's bad, right?
No. I would argue that if we're going to argue from a neocon standpoint, because I would say I used to be one, I would argue that the neocon standpoint would be doing effective things when it comes to expanding American influence. Like, direct action against military targets. That would be an effective use of American power that's going to increase our influence in the world. Holding territory, ensuring free shipping, safe shipping lanes overseas. Yeah, that would be a neocon stance. However, a neocon would not be in favor of ineffective things like 3.6 million going to Haiti or for something like this.
Okay. I mean, I think descriptively, even if we disagree on like whether or not these things are good or bad, I could just accept that. But then this would get into, I would say, let's do like let's do the spicy, non-spicy, and then spicy. So social conservatism. Okay. I think that social conservatism is promoting, religious values, virtues, family, getting married, having kids, being loyal to your wife. I think Trump is one of the least. So he espouses social conservatism. He got conservative justices elected to the Supreme Court. I think that he is the least socially conservative individual who has ever represented the Republican Party, probably in the history of the country.
What?
I think that Donald Trump is the least socially conservative human being who has represented the Republican Party in the history of the country.
Worse than John McCain?
Yes, substantively. John McCain was married for 40 years. Donald Trump cheated on every single one of his spouses. Donald Trump is credibly accused of having sex with 14 to 17-year-old girls to the 80s and 90s and being friends with one of the world's most prolific pedophiles in American history. So yeah, John McCain was substantively more social conservative than Donald Trump.
Who founded the Republican Party? I forget. Was it Abraham Lincoln? Oh, it was Abraham Lincoln. Like, this guy took the progressive stance of freeing the slaves. I got to say, and that's a good thing, but if you're going to argue that, hey, he's the most non-social conservative in American history, maybe once again, open up a history book. Like,
Do you think slavery is socially conservative?
I would argue that at the time, yeah, if it's established within, hey, it's economic conservative, that's for goddamn sure. If you're going to sit here and say, oh, with tradition, hey, yeah, that's also going to be a conservative standpoint at the time. Like, are you arguing that
this is why I define terms before I talk about them. I say that social conservatism is promoting.
You're defining it dishonestly.
Okay, okay. Tell me if this definition is dishonest. Social conservatism is reinforcing religious principles and values, and also reinforcing the virtue and value of family, marriage, and staying loyal to your partner while raising children. That's social conservatism. Was that a dishonest social conservative definition?
Sure, let's use that definition. Let's just for funsies. I'll play your game. Here's the problem with that: if we use that definition, we use that definition, and we compare the two candidates, and then we compare down ballot. Which one represents that more? Maybe the leader might not represent that. Hey, but Vance is absolutely
that's my argument.
Conservative. However, when I sit here and see policies like that were going on the left, none of that is advocating for social conservative. And your argument is a never Trumper. So you're going to argue against anybody MAGA. And then you're going to say, hey, let's vote for Dems that are going to push more far left socialist policies and more far left progressive anti-conservative policies. And then you're going to tell me that,
so I'll follow you, Gibs.
Go ahead.
I'll follow you. Yeah. So quick response, Luke. I promise I'll be brief. Yes. So if my options were Kamala Harris, who I don't like as a person, who I think has not led a socially conservative life, she cheated on her current spouse or her boyfriend or whatever in order to fillet a person in power in order to get a better job. She married into a family. She does not have children of her own. I do not view her as a socially conservative person. However, if I stack Kamala Harris up against Donald Trump, who cheated on every single one of his spouses, including Melania, and who also had sex with underage sex trafficked women, then I'm going to say that Kamala Harris is a fundamentally better person than Donald Trump.
Williams. What are you talking about? If you're going to talk about social conservatism, you can't talk about someone who's a known cheating slut. This is crazy, bro.
You say known cheating slut. Wouldn't you agree, Gibbs? Do you think being a pedophile is worse, or do you think being a slut is worse?
I don't know. Why don't we ask your bestie for destiny? But hey, that's neither here nor there.
Go ask him. I'm pretty sure he'll say being a pedophile is worse than being a slut. I'm asking you.
I don't know. There's a lot of
I'm asking you.
He's not going to answer the question. He's not going to answer the question.
Gibbs, I would love an answer. I would love an answer, Gibbs. What's worse, having sex with a 14-year-old sex trafficked girl or being a cheating slut?
Well, anything
what's worse?
Anything they're convicted for, that's going to be what's worse because we know
I would like you to answer the question.
And the answer is anything they're going to be convicted for, that's going to be what's worse. And I've not heard Donald Trump be convicted of anything.
The question is,
if he was actually doing this, why in the last 4 years when the Dems had the
having sex with a 14-year-old girl worse than cheating?
All we want getting released, but guess what? They released more of that information in the last 6 months than we've been released in the last 4 years. If the Dems actually had the claims you're making, they would have released them. All you got is baby back bullshit. Go ahead, Luke.
Gibbs, I would like an answer to my question from a descriptive standpoint. Is being a cheating slut worse than having sex with a sex trafficked 14-year-old girl? Yes or no?
And then after Gibbs' response,
in a pure hypothetical, it would be. However, in a real world scenario, where we have evidence of one,
I'll take in a hypothetical. That's enough.
We don't have evidence of the other. So, you know.
Oh, we do. We have firsthand testimony from one of the sex trafficked girls. We also have a 2003 letter from the Jeffrey Epstein estate where Donald Trump writes the most prolific pedophile in American history a love letter talking about how they both have a secret.
Wow.
So yeah,
Admiral Gibbs.
Connor, you and I have a secret.
What's that?
That you're gay. I mean, look, see how easy it is? I can just make up anything when I say we have a secret. Nobody knows that means nothing. That means nothing. That means nothing.
Denying.
You have no evidence.
To be clear here,
of this claim.
You, the real conservative, are saying that actually it's conservative to sweep for the president of the United States having sex with 14-year-old girls. That's conservatism now.
Nobody's sweeping.
You're
I'm arguing that there's evidence.
I am presenting you evidence. I am presenting you evidence that Donald Trump had sex with underage girls in the 80s, 90s, and thousands, and you are denying it. That is
presenting no evidence that's been put in front of the court of law.
There is.
Okay, do you think a court of law?
Everyone shut the fuck up.
Hold on.
Everyone shut up. I will mute everyone. Shut the fuck up. First and foremost, we're going to kick it over to Luke here in a second. Second of all, everyone in chat, make sure to like and sub, please. And then third of all, Connor, you're gay. When I came on to you, you told me that you weren't into dudes, dude. What the fuck?
Right, try again. Try again now.
Corbin, you're a very handsome man. I'm just actually not into dudes.
Damn.
All right,
Luke.
See how easy to lie about this kind of stuff? Crazy.
Ha 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 ha! You're sweeping for a pedophile. Awesome.
I mean,
okay. We're not getting anywhere with the pedo versus teenage.
Okay, before Luke goes, can I ask Admiral Gibbs something?
Sure.
No, we're gonna kick it to North.
Okay, never mind.
Oh, okay. Admiral Gibbs, you say that in order for someone to be considered a pedophile, they have to be convicted in a court of law, right?
Yeah, I'm a conservative. I believe in innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
So why did you call Destiny a pedophile?
I didn't. I'm saying by the same metric.
No, you implied he was a pedophile.
No. Yeah, exactly. And I apply this. I'm actually willing to sit here right now and tell you to your face that I will grant Destiny that he's not one until he's convicted in the court of law, because I, as a conservative, I believe in conservative values like innocent until proven guilty. Trump's case, the one that Connor's referencing, got thrown out for lack of that.
How do you feel about drone striking drug boats in the Caribbean?
Hold on, before we
got thrown out. And so when you're asking
respond.
When you're asking me this question, North, I'm willing to sit here and grant Destiny grace because he's not been convicted in the court of law. And I think we should all wait until he's convicted in the court of law before making accusations. However, we're going to be this dishonest.
Okay.
Hold on. If we're going to be
literally applying this, though.
Hold on. Let me just finish my thought here. The reason why I'm doing that is because what Connor's doing is dishonest. The case he's referencing got thrown out. This letter that he's saying it's a secret. We have a big secret. I just made up something to claim we have a secret. See how easy that was? It could mean anything. The secret. You and I can have a secret.
Do you know? Hold on.
Both North and Gibbs, we're kicking it to Luke now.
Sure. My point is, I'm going to mute you. Guilty is a conservative value.
All right, Luke.
Yeah. So obviously, to counter, we could obviously talk all day about Trump's social conservative lifestyle or life. But I would like to ask you a question from a conservative policy standpoint. You would rather vote for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump?
No. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I would actually argue from a social conservative standpoint is that the repeal of Roe versus Wade was probably one of the biggest social conservative victories of the past half century. So I would actually argue that was one of the biggest social conservative wins. What I don't like about the repeal of Roe versus Wade is that since there was no legislation that was put in place afterwards, all the red states got infinitely more conservative on abortion, but the blue states got infinitely more blue. And so as a result, they kind of legalized infanticide, where you can have an elective abortion up to 9 months, and that's actually more morally repugnant than Roe versus Wade. Now, when it comes, the reason why I bring up Trump rather than social conservative is because I can agree that Christians and Christian nationalists and Christian theocrats probably feel pretty well represented in the Trump administration. That's true. But I think they're selling their souls to the devil, because I think Donald Trump is one of the least Christian, most vile, least socially conservative people that we've had in the history of the country. So yeah, you got more socially conservative policies. That's probably true. Christian nationalists, Christian theocrats, they probably feel super comfortable. Donald Trump himself is a credibly accused pedophile.
Well, hold on. Once again, I just posted a link arguing that that's basically the lies. The case got tossed out in 2016, and then he basically just admitted right here. Sorry, Luke, I didn't mean to cut you off again. He just admitted that, Trump has put these Christian fundamentalists, or whatever he wanted to call them, in office, and they are pushing socially conservative policies. So like I said in my opening, he is actually advocating voting down ballot against Christian conservative policies. So
yeah, because I don't like I don't like
ahead.
pedophile rapists, Gibbs, and I also don't like selling your
Alle-
soul in order to
alleged,
achieve
alleged, not
policy
convicted.
ends, Gibbs.
Alleged.
All right, and
alleged.
Luke-
I mean, you don't have a problem with other alleged ones, but you have a problem
Luke,
with one.
Okay,
what
so
do you-
hold on. So
hold on,
Gibbs.
Oh
This is
God.
actually something that I'm going to force you to contend with. In the 2003 letter, with a secret that they both share, the outline behind the secret love letter from the 2003 birthday book is a woman with small breasts. In that same birthday book, there is a drawing of another fan of Jeffrey Epstein handing balloons to 10-year-old and 8-year-old girls who are then in the next frame seen massaging him 10 years later. Okay, so it is known, not only that, but Donald Trump, his primary accuser, I could look up her name, but his primary accuser said that girls in flyover states were flown in for beauty pageants and modeling agencies from age 13 to 17. They were brought to Jeffrey Epstein's penthouse where tons of rich and powerful people were partying. Donald Trump was there, and they had sex when she was of the age of 14. That's not socially conservative, friend. There's nothing socially conservative about banging sex trafficked 14-year-old girls. There's nothing about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, once again, it's alleged, not convicted, innocent until proven guilty. You just gave away the game.
So you're ignoring the evidence in front of your eyes.
Again, hold on. In front of my eye. Well, I'm not the judge. I'm not a prosecutor. I'm not a defense attorney. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not a jury. They didn't convict him. None of this stuff really matters because it's not convicted. Hold on. Well, sure, you can argue that. I mean, once again, by your own metric, you're sweeping for a person with the same kind of.
No, I don't.
I'm willing to just throw both of those arguments out the window for the sake of civility. However, we can stick to them if we want. I would like to turn back over to Luke, though. I just want to point out that you did admit that down ballot Trump has put social conservatives in that pushed the agenda and pushed policy. And your biggest complaint is he's personally a piece of shit, and yet he's still going to push conservative policy regardless. So thanks for once again not a conservative. Sorry.
Here's another thing.
Okay, Connor, before you go, I've been trying to kick it. Connor, before you go, I've been trying to kick it to Luke for like the last 5 minutes. I'm going to let him have the floor.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, as I said earlier, we could talk about his, social conservative life. Maybe he didn't really live like the perfect Christian life. He was obviously, there's obviously a lot of things that that has been funneled into the air. But one of the main things that I view when I look at him is his policies, right? Obviously I can't vote for the guy, not old enough to vote yet. So I'm not going to be able to really have a say on that. But what I do want to argue for is some of his conservative policies. I think he still upholds, conservative policies that, have mirrored Reagan, and, have mirrored like the most historical figures in the Republican Party, and he's tried his best to follow that path.
Okay, Luke, explain to me in what way he's mirrored that. I don't see that at all. Explain it. Explain the examples of how Trump has mirrored, like Reaganism.
Oh yeah, well, deregulation, right, and peace through strength could just be two examples that I'll throw out.
Okay. When you refer to deregulation, what do you mean by that exactly?
Well, he's giving tax cuts to companies that do that have made in America.
Is that deregulation?
In a sense, yes.
Why is that? Why is tax cuts deregulation?
Because it can help made in America companies thrive.
If I were to ask you to define regulation and deregulation, what would you answer?
Rolling back federal regulations on businesses.
Okay, so that's okay. When I ask you what deregulation is, you say, "Well, this is rolling back regulation." That's the circular definition.
What do you think regulation, deregulation?
Well, I'm asking Luke because he's the one.
You clearly have an issue.
He's saying that Trump is deregulating,
Well, yeah. Would rolling regulation back on businesses be deregulated? Yes or no?
But he's claiming that deregulation is giving a tax cut. I don't
Well,
think that's a
well, in a
deregulation.
sense,
Absolutely,
yeah, I mean,
that absolutely is.
well, in a sense, I would mean limiting the government control on businesses.
Okay, so we talked about before that Trump is increasing government control on businesses through subsidies and through taking direct control of like major corporation stocks, right?
Are we a mixed economy or not?
So is that not contrary to like what you're talking about?
Well, I mean, was he investing or buying stock in that? Well, you see, like
Yeah,
buying stock.
the government has bought 10% stock in like Intel, and they control 10% stock in Intel.
Where's Faith and Liberty at? I didn't know you were Faith and Liberty. This is crazy, bro. You're sitting here arguing for libertaria, and then you're trying to like nail down. You asked him, what's regulation, deregulation? And his answer was exactly what deregulation is. Rolling back.
I'm saying that Trump is not
like, that's
going up to the
crazy.
claims of being like deregulatory.
This is so bad, Faith.
Okay. Do you think the FCC censoring Jimmy Kimmel, do you think that that's deregulatory?
Sure, I'm going to censoring the FCC. Well, since they did they actually
no, not censoring the FCC as a tool to censor.
Yeah. Did they actually do something, or did they threaten to do something?
Okay, so if the
yes or no
government threatens, okay. So if you threaten to do something, is that not like a bad thing?
Well,
like, so if I like say, okay, you can't do this unless or I'll kill you, right? That's not like, well, he just threatened to kill you. It doesn't mean that he actually killed you. Like, doesn't discredit that.
Let's do your thought exercise real quick. All right, would you agree that following the example of maybe the man in the Bible that God called a man after his own heart, King David, would you say that exemplifies Christian behaviors?
What?
Well, King David is.
He's a Jew. He's Old Testament, but he does exemplify some Christian beliefs.
So as Christians, we try to emulate Christ, right?
Right. So yes. However,
we don't try to emulate King David.
Pre-existed
that's like you're talking about Judaism.
Well, no, what I'm talking about is with the Christian God, Yahweh, one part of the Trinity, which has a covenant in the Old Testament that is broken and renewed under Jesus with the new covenant.
The new covenant.
Cool.
So we don't follow the old covenant.
Hold on.
So we don't follow
You're
King
right.
David,
Hold on,
right?
that's not true. Well, hold on. A lot of the new covenant does follow the old covenant. There's some differences, like Jesus rose for our sins, as opposed to us having to pay like lamb tax, basically, right? Or sacrifices. Hold on. But here's my argument. When God, you agree that God, the God of the Old Testament. Hold on.
I'm talking about Passover. Let Gibs finish and then North can respond.
I'm talking about sacrifices. One sacrifice. Hold on, let me finish here. Hold on, let me finish. I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish. It's real simple. When I sit here and I argue Yahweh, a part of the Trinity, who says in the Old Testament, David is a man after God's own heart, and Connor complains about how Trump doesn't exemplify Christian or Christian values or any of these things, and David had the husband of Bathsheba killed and then married her. This is a man that ended up repenting. This story teaches us that any man, even someone who does something as evil as killing somebody's husband and then marrying his wife, can be used as a tool for God's good and God's grace and leading the nation. And this is an example here.
So God can rape 14-year-olds because
you're
Trump is doing God's work. Amazing.
I got 2 doctors, religion. How many do you have?
Admiral Gibbs, you're misinterpreting the point of that story. The point of that story isn't that, oh, well, David did a bad thing, and it ultimately was a good thing because it helped David like learn a lesson or something like that. That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is David did a bad thing and God punished him for years. That's like
how about I can use other example. How about
because
Paul?
He did a bad thing.
Paul? You know the Apostle Paul. Let's use the New Testament because I let you walk right into this one. Paul was under the name Saul, was sitting here killing Christians. He was stoning them to death. And then God came and wasn't a good thing. That was a bad thing. That was a bad thing. And God came and showed him the way. And God came and showed him the way. Hold on. God came and showed him the way. God came and showed him the way. Oh, I let you speak. God came and showed him the way. And he used Saul, who became Paul, as a tool. And And part of what
But that doesn't mean no one-
hold on, part of
no
what
one
that
was
message
killing-
is
No,
as
that
that
wasn't a good
part
thing.
of what that
That was a
message
bad
is.
thing.
Part of what that message is.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
clear that I'm more theologically knowledgeable than you are.
No,
Part of what that
you're
message
not. You're
is
completely-
that God can
you're
use
trying to
any
justify
man.
pedophilia.
God
That's what you're
can
doing.
use-
You're
God can use
justifying
any.
Trump's
I'm not
pedophilia
justifying
using
any
Christian rhetoric.
God
which
can
I-
use any
was
person.
fucking
God
insane.
can use any person, whether you agree with what they've done, whether what they're
Yeah,
alleged
even
to do,
child
whatever.
rapists,
And
right?
hold on, well, I mean, they can use any person and sit here and spread the word of God and become a tool of God. And when Connor admits that they're sitting here putting social conservatives in office, and he just doesn't like Trump for XYZ reason, you know, which
Yeah, I
one of
don't
these
like
being
child
this-
rapists, Gibbs.
Well,
You
you were
shouldn't
complaining
either.
about this before this was even a thing. I don't associate with either of them. However, if I'm going to have to vote between
Wait, so hold
Kamala
on. I
and Trump,
told you 2 clear pieces
I
of
never
evidence
said
that
it.
Trump is a
and
child
one of those-
rapist, and you don't
what did I
care.
tell you? What did I tell you?
You don't
I said,
care.
as a conservative, I believe in the Constitution, and one of the things that we talk about is innocent until proven guilty under the.
So hold on,
judiciary
I'm going to test that,
Do you not
Gibbs.
agree with innocent until proven
I'm going to
guilty?
test that. Let me
Oh
know
my
when you're done.
God.
Okay, so hold on. Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth have drone struck 3 separate boats in the Caribbean. There was no trial. There was no due process. We don't even know who these people are. They've probably killed 20 or so people. So you said that you believe in innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, which is why, despite the fact that I presented you with 2 pieces of evidence that indicate that Donald Trump is a child rapist, you're willing to ignore those things. So how do you feel about drone striking random ships in the Caribbean without due process?
Well, I'll answer that. It's real simple, you know, because if Connor knew anything about anything, he would know that when I'm talking about innocent until proven guilty, I'm talking about under the American justice system for American citizens. I don't give a fuck about a terrorist organization cartel. When it's a terrorist organization cartel, I'm sorry, it's based as fuck. He's taking out drug dealers in the middle of the ocean.
Pedophilia, drone strike a few civilians. Who cares? This is why
civilians.
nobody
You
likes
mean
by the
drug? Did you know that there's actually reports now from other coast guards of other navies that have actually recovered drugs from the struck boats? Right. So, do you want to rescind that dumbass statement, or do you just want to double down on idiocracy?
Wait, sorry. What did you say?
There are reports now from nearby nations that one of them, at least that we have evidence of so far, was able to recover drugs from some of the struck.
Okay, Admiral Gibbs,
that
are you
pretty
at
much
all...
definitely proves that they were selling drugs.
Admiral Gibbs,
You recovered drugs from it.
No, wait, but
are you at
we're for
all-
due process.
Hold on. Admiral Gibbs, do you understand why a president is able to drone strike a random family in the Middle East? Do you understand what authority the president is
Are they American
taking
citizens
from in order to do that?
Hold on. Are they American citizens or not?
No, that's not what I'm asking.
I know that's not what
you're
you're asking.
answering a question with a question. I'm asking, do you understand what authority the president is deriving from in order to do drone strikes in the Middle East?
Yeah, they're the commander in chief of the military.
That's not the authority.
That is the authority. Are you the
No, it's an authorization
After
of use of
9/11
military force from Congress.
When's the last time we had a declared war? When's the last time we had a declared war?
After 9/11, there was legislation passed saying that the president, as dictated by Congress, is able to basically take out anyone associated with the attacks of 9/11, right? And we've stretched that, I'd say, too far to today, where that's the same authority that we're using to bomb Yemeni's pirates, right?
Sure.
The president doesn't have that authority by himself. He has to derive that authority from Congress. So where is he getting that authority to drone strike Caribbean Venezuelan ships?
Okay. All right. Real simple. Are the Yemeni pirates and the Houthis, and are these people generally considered terrorists?
It's not whether they're terrorists or not. It's
yes,
whether they
yes
were
or not.
associated
Are they
with 9/11.
classified? Hold on.
And that is the
Are
exact
they-
same
hold on.
justification
Are
of
they
the Trump
classified?
administration.
Are they
and-
classified as terrorists? Yes or no?
Yes, they are classified.
Okay. So, did you have a problem when any of the other presidents used the terrorist clause? I guess if you did, sure. However, all these other presidents in recent history since 9/11 have used his basic powers under the the Bush Plus Patriot Act, all these other good things Bush pushed through under the Cheney administration. Basically when he did this, they classified these things and they derived that power from Congress, and that is partially why we've sat here and we've seen whenever we have cartels dealing with foreign powers like China, much in the same way Hezbollah does with Iran. We can see other places like Venezuelan-backed Trinidad. We see these things when they're acting in the same manner. It is reasonable then when they declare them terrorists and terrorist organizations for him to act as the commander-in-chief, deriving his power from those bills that were passed after 9/11 to enact a will upon those ships, and that will happen to be sinking their asses.
Okay, do you think that the president should be able to act without the authority of Congress to like sink ships?
Yes, possibly.
Yes. Okay. Well, then you're.
You're not a constitutional conservative.
Hold on. You agree with this too? You agree with this
okay,
too?
hold on. You think that is at all in line with like limited government at all?
Hold on. You agree with what I just said too?
Separation of powers.
If I take a boat and I drive it full of explosives at a U.S. Aircraft carrier, would they have a reason to shoot me out of the water even if they didn't know what I was doing?
Yeah, they would.
Would they
do that without the president's
You're giving me literally an entirely different circumstance.
No.
Yes, I would agree that they will be able to shoot it out. But
we're talking about blowing up civilian vessels in the Caribbean. That's what we're talking about.
We know they aren't civilian vessels.
These people aren't driving boats towards U.S. carrier task forces. That's not
they're
what's
driving
happening
boats
right
full
now.
of drugs to America.
How do you know they have drugs in them?
Okay, if I have to pull up another source and you can't pull up a single line again...
Yeah, but the source of them having drugs in it is after the fact. They didn't know they had drugs in it before when they blew them up.
Are they American citizens, yes or no?
That doesn't matter!
So then they're not entitled to the same fucking rights under the Constitution as American citizens. Trump already declared the organization terrorist org.
You're actually completely misunderstanding what I'm saying.
No, North, I just want to make this clear. So the Constitution actually does specifically articulate citizens and people when it's referring to citizens and people, and therefore people are entitled to due process under the United States law. And so as an example, you're just showing us that you don't actually believe in the Constitution of the United States, which is fine. That's fine.
This is insanity, bro. Like when
either that or you don't understand it. You either don't understand it or you don't believe it.
You don't understand it because y'all are just sitting here. I gave a scenario.
No. You just said that people who are not citizens are not entitled to due process. So you don't understand.
If you were to declare a terrorist organization under U.S. law, you're not entitled. If you're a foreign power, a foreign combatant of war, you have things that you are entitled to. You are not entitled to every right of due process. And if you're a terrorist organization, you're an enemy combatant, and therefore you're not beholden under the people thing that you're just talking about to having any kind of due process. I hate to break it to you. This is once again, we have a UPS driver fucking trying to explain what legal theory. Good stuff. Try again.
Gibbs, but this is where you're unironically so stupid you weren't able to track the conversation. So what North was saying was that in the war on terror, we had the authorization for use of military force in the Middle East and North Africa, and we also did additional AUMFs from Congress that authorized Obama, Bush, Trump during ISIS, in order to authorize them to do drone strikes against jihadists in the Middle East and North Africa.
Was Bush
in the Caribbean? I'm almost done. Thank you. Okay. In the Caribbean, we don't have an equivalent thing. What happened was the executive branch unilaterally invoked the Aliens and Seditions Act in order to label Tren de Aragua a terrorist organization, and then they started drone striking civilian vessels in the Caribbean, which is a clear departure from anything that happened during the war on terror. The fact that that's not alarming to you it should be alarming to me, but it's no longer because I've had like 3 or 4 conversations with you. So
let me ask you this.
I expect this out of you, unfortunately.
Once again, let's just remember, we're talking about conservatism. All right, guys, once again, let's just use Connor's own metric, right? He argued that Trump's not a neocon, and then arguably the peak of the neocon movement is under Bush Cheney, right? Depending on which form thought of neoconservatism that you like, right? The arguable peak is under Bush Cheney, and guess what? They're the ones who absolutely would agree with Trump over here bombing terrorist organizations or using the Patriot Act to do stuff. That's the authority he's deriving from. So by your own metric, he's being a neoconservative again, and you're advocating for policies that are not conservative. But good, thank you for agreeing. Once again, Trump is upholding the conservative position.
Okay, you can be a neoconservative within powers granted by Congress.
Okay, communicating with you is like communicating with an orangutan, because neoconservatives, they want to spread specific values across the world. They don't want to spread McDonald's.
One of those selling drugs.
They don't want to spread having sex with kids. What they want to spread is republicanism and liberal democracy and free markets. So when you have somebody invoke war powers during a time of peace in order to unilaterally slaughter civilians, that's actually, weirdly enough, something that like neoconservatives would not advocate for. Weirdly enough, it goes beyond what neoconservatives advocate for. So the fact that you don't understand these words, again,
how many civilians died in Iraq?
Gibbs, let Connor finish.
Well, I mean, all I had was an insult. It's like trying to talk to a different species.
Okay.
It's really frustrating.
Okay. Never mind.
Once again, if we're going to talk about peak neoconservatism, arguably it's under Bush and Cheney, and I don't know, 1 million plus Iraqis died. So you clearly don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
No, I do, because I actually read the history of the Iraq War, and it wasn't 1 million. It's around 200,000. But you know, I said, you're not the same species as me, so I'm not surprised we're having communication difficulties.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah. One of us is intelligent, the other one's a dumbass. That's the different species, and I'm the intelligent one, clearly.
I'm happy you needed to clarify that at the end of the sentence.
Yeah, I did, because the way you're seeing here, bitten there, going and being duplicitous and perfidious the entire time. I want to point out once again, I'm the only one who's provided sources for any of my claims, and this guy's over here talking about neoconservatism. Then when I point out he's actually being a neoconservative, then he points out, oh, hey, guess what? This guy's not spreading these things. Oh, but Trump puts people in that are socially conservative. Every point that I made in my opening, economic conservatism, social conservatism, foreign policy, we can look at neoconservatism. He has admitted that Trump is implementing these things. So he was the most conservative candidate going forward comparatively to socialist Kamala Harris.
Admiral Gibbs, I have a question.
Points that well, let alone my points. So I'm unsurprised.
I got a major question for Admiral Gibbs. Do you believe in states' rights?
Yes.
Yes. Do you think that Trump promotes states' rights?
I believe that Trump believes in the federalism principle, right, where the national government is higher than the states' rights, and states have some rights. However, the federal government is able to trump them. Those not listed specifically to the U.S. federal government is something along the lines of the exact quote.
That's the only states' rights that there are.
I mean, listen, if you want me to sit here and try to list thousands and thousands of different things, is that what you're trying to argue? Do
you think that Trump violates?
Can you provide a source?
Do you think that Trump violates states' rights when he's deploying the National Guard to places like Texas or not Texas, California?
Comitatus Act of 1878.
Yeah. Do you think he is violating states' rights by deploying the National Guard to places like California without the permission of their governors
or Illinois?
Or Illinois. That's also true.
Okay. Are federal troops being attacked in those cities? Not federal troops, federal agents being attacked in those cities. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So under what we're talking about, if Trump sends troops to defend federal buildings and support federal law enforcement in a logistical manner and defend themselves if they are attacked as well, then no, he is not violating states' rights because he's simply defending federal buildings, which you would agree, defending federal buildings is something under the purview of the federal government. And then when he's supporting federal law enforcement with logistical help, I don't see him sending Marines or Navy SEALs kicking in doors. I see them assisting with some of the ICE agents and stuff, but they're not doing any of that. So, no, I would say he's not violating states' rights. Would you disagree with that assessment?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
I would say that he would be violating states' rights.
So there's realistically 3 more that I would want to get through. And so the boring one that I think we can do really quickly is
actually, Connor, before you go on your thing, I wanted to ask Luke. Luke, did you want to kind of intervene on any of these state rights topics that we're hitting on at the moment?
Yeah. I mean, I would just want to say that there are some a lot of state right things that Trump has supported. For one, he decided to leave abortion up to the states, which is one of the biggest ideas, despite what you want to say about it. On conservative viewpoints on it, that's a very conservative belief of leaving a lot of things up to the states.
I mean,
Okay.
I would agree with that, but Trump didn't decide that. I guess it's a Supreme Court appointee, but I guess it's who you want to give credit for that.
And then listen,
Both, if you'd like.
hold on, because I'm not like abhuman, I can like understand multiple concepts. So I think that states that are conservative have passed incredibly conservative abortion laws. But I think with the repeal of Roe versus Wade in reaction to incredibly conservative abortion laws, I think it's Colorado, California, and I think even like Wisconsin or something. It was something crazy. They've passed effectively elective abortion laws up through like past viability. They've effectively said that you can get an abortion all the way up to the 9th month. Now, the argument from pro-abortion advocates is that like, well, this is such a statistically small amount of abortion. Who gives a shit? But in my opinion, that effectively legalized infanticide.
Well, the real thing about that is, well, that is terrible. My views of abortion are very similar to Charlie Kirk's beliefs. But what I would say is, like, can you right now? Shit, my bad. Can you right now pass any legislative federal stances on abortion?
Probably not. There's not going to be sufficient agreement to do it.
So the only real take you can have on that is appeal Roe versus Wade and then leave it up to the states.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if you take a pragmatic approach, that's probably what most social conservatives believe.
Luke, do you believe that the president should be able to dictate what the Supreme Court does?
No.
No? Okay.
No. They can have influence.
They can have influence, but they can't dictate. Okay, so do you think that Trump was dictating that the Supreme Court repeal Roe v. Wade?
No, I believe he had influence on it.
Do you think that president should have influence on the Supreme Court?
I believe that they're allowed to express their opinion.
But do you think an opinion directly implies influence?
I would not say so. No, I would not say it's a direct influence on it, because obviously we've seen the Supreme Court.
Yeah, North. I don't know what you're poking at. What are you poking at?
Well, I was just wondering because if you're implying that the Supreme Court is just going to do whatever Trump wants, then I think there'll be a violation of the separation of powers, which is an anti-conservative.
No, but I just to kind of cut ahead, because aren't we? I don't know how long we're running this, Corbin. Are we running for 2 hours, basically?
Yeah, the ideal is about 2 hours. I have about to.
Yeah, so I kind of want to cut ahead. My point would be that like Trump saying, "Oh, there's this case making its way up the lower courts, and it's going to make it to the Supreme Court about Roe v. Wade, and I hope the Supreme Court does something about that." I don't know if there would be any like legal or ethical prohibitions against him offering an opinion like that.
Well, he can offer opinion, but as Luke said before, that opinion isn't like direct influence.
Yeah, so. Sure. The just so we can get it all in, because we only got like 40 minutes left. So in environmental conservatism, just real quick, even if you guys don't want to deal with it, that's fine. Environmental conservatism, the Department of the Bureau of Land Management, the head of the Bureau of Land Management, appointed by Trump in conjunction with a Republican, tried to sell tens of millions of acres of federal public land. You can make whatever pro-capitalist arguments you want. You can make whatever pro-timber, pro-ranching, pro-whatever arguments. The point is that that's not environmental conservatism. Any disagreement on that?
Okay. Would you argue that
Ribs, while you go do your thing, I'm going to go grab a charger real quick.
Yeah, when you tell me, okay, would you argue that putting oil wells in Alaska on federal land or national reserves, would that be economic conservatism, or would that just be conservatism in general? Would you be economic conservatism? Probably, right? Like allowing capitalist society.
That'd be
to
like
go
free
in-
market.
Free market. Okay, cool. So I like the idea that when we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about environmental conservatism or economic conservatism and what's more conservative, like I got to be honest, as the actual conservative in the room, when I'm sitting here hearing what y'all are saying, yeah, I don't give two fucks about him selling land to these people, especially if it's going to be good for ranching, it's going to be good for oil. Like, yeah, good. More power to him. That would be the conservative stance overall. Yeah. Because the economic trumps the environment.
Then I'm just gonna point out Teddy Roosevelt, one of the greatest Republicans who ever lived, is the person who established the federal park system, and then it was actually Richard Nixon who created
Teddy
the
Roosevelt was
Environmental
progressive.
Protection Agency.
Teddy
And
Roosevelt
so
was a progressive.
stewardship,
time.
environmental,
For his time, right?
environmental.
So you could argue that something
stewardship.
that was progressive for like one time is conservative for like a different
So,
time. And when
hold
we
on.
argue for conservatism today, it is different than the progressivism
Well,
of like.
Well,
okay,
hold on.
so-
hold on. Would you
so
argue that? Okay, if you're
would
going to
you
argue that,
that Lincoln is a conservative of today? Like, would you argue that?
hold on.
Would you?
Let's-
No, hold on. Hold
No,
on. Answer the question. Would you
I
argue
would-
that Lincoln is a conservative of today?
Well, by what's your argument? Sure, but hold on. If we're gonna go with your argument, and this is why this is really dumb. If I was to sit here and say we can look at any point in history and we can argue that there is conservative movements at any point in history for every form of government that's ever existed, right? So if I was going to be a traditional conservative, I don't know, Athenian, and I believed in the cult of Dionysus, then I would believe rampant degeneracy would be conservatism, right? At that time. And it would be accurate and applicable because I would be the traditionalist in that sense, as opposed to, I don't know, Paul coming in and pushing progressive Christianity that's going to go against our conservative national traditions. Well, hold on. In the sense it is that in that one chance, right? In that one situation. So when you're going to make this argument, it's dumb, right? Because you're going to go, hey, is Teddy Roosevelt a progressive?
We're
he is
not
a progressive
arguing in the
even under
context
today's-
of
North,
like,
let
he is
Gibbs- North,
a
let Gibbs
progressive
finish.
of-
Because
North,
the
let Gibbs
problem-
finish.
The problem,
North,
the
let Gibbs
problem-
finish.
The problem is when you argue the point that you're making, Teddy Roosevelt is a progressive by modern metrics as well. He expanded the national government, expanded national parks in the sense. He wanted more power for the federal government. We see this many, many times. And when we're talking about what's more conservative, getting rid of this stuff, the national parks, and shrinking the government is the conservative standpoint.
Okay, question, Admiral Gibbs. If you were
No,
put in,
North.
like,
I don't
the
want to get. We only got 30 minutes left, so I don't want to get spun up on a thing. I think that what Gibbs said, which I understand, and I do not agree with his perspective, but I understand it to be valid, which is that he thinks environmental conservatism is gay and cringe.
Yeah,
And so Trump and MAGA is not environmentally conservative, but environmental conservatism is gay and cringe. That's kind of what. So I'm okay.
What conservatives in the
Let's
recent
move
like
on to the
well,
next
hold on,
one.
what conservatives in the recent like 20 years, 30 years, for like since the 90s, like have ever thought environmental conservatism wasn't gay and cringe?
Richard Nixon.
Okay. Richard Nixon.
So
and what
Richard
else?
Nixon
Anybody
and Teddy
else?
Roosevelt, two of the greatest Republicans who ever ran for office, but that's not a problem.
I
We
mean,
don't need to get spun up on an
Nixon's not an all right. Nixon's not an environmental conservative. But okay, go ahead.
We don't need to get spun up on this. So what I would argue is I want to tell Luke about Edmund Burke real quick, but realistically that could go along with constitutional conservatism as well. So Luke, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Okay.
Okay. So a guy, I'll try to be as brief as possible. There's this guy named Edmund Burke who was an English statesman during the French Revolution. And he believed that the traditionalists, because traditionalism is different than conservatism, that the traditionalists in the French society held on to institutions that were dead, like the Catholic Church and like monarchy. And so as a result of them holding on to dead institutions, the revolutionaries got more and more rabid over time because they were constantly pushing for change that was never happening. And so Edmund Burke, although he articulated this in essays, he didn't say it one-to-one, but what Edmund Burke came up with, he's considered the founding father of conservative philosophy. And what he said is that conservatives should default to the status quo. Institutions are filled with centuries or millennia of wisdom, and therefore you should not take institutions and just throw them out the window. What you can do, though, as a conservative, so you don't make society so brittle that it falls apart, is you criticize progressive and liberal criticism of existing institutions so you can find out what the good ideas are and you can eliminate the bad ideas and you can institute good ideas over time. Because like it or not, there are some good ideas that come from all parts of the political spectrum. So I like Burke. Whether or not you guys like Burke, it almost doesn't matter. What I would argue, though, in reference to constitutional conservatism, that specifically with Donald Trump's attempt to violate the 12th Amendment of the United States with the fake elector scheme in December and January of 2020 and 2021, Donald Trump and anybody who supports him are not constitutional conservatives and they're not Burkean conservatives.
Admiral Gibbs, do you think that Trump wishes to respect the Constitution?
Yes, I think he respects the Constitution.
Do you think that January 6th was an
here we go.
Yeah, January 6th.
Yeah, you try to overthrow the fucking Republic of the United States. Yeah, here we go.
Bro, we know we've seen right now something like, what was it, 200, like 90 or 200, some crazy amount of FBI agents undercover were there. We have videos now that have been released of the FBI agents allegedly.
Hey, Connor and North.
Hold on. Allegedly,
he's lying or spreading misinformation.
Hold on. We have this. I'm sorry, it's not lying and misinformation. Once again, I'd like to point out the only one who spread misinformation is you two, because I posted the sources. The host can verify that, and all the sources are direct primary sources where they quote the people themselves saying it. That's important here. And so once again, if we're going to talk about who's lying and spreading misinformation, I think that's important. So when we're going to sit here and go talk about January 6th, right? The argument that there are not people, when Trump's running on the idea in January in his first term to clean out the swamp, that after appointing people after 4 years, that he's going to undo the last, I don't know, 2 administrations, right, of people that he thinks have been corrupt and then are going to work against him is crazy. And that's why we're seeing so much more change now with this administration, because now he's finally been able to clear out some of that rot because they weren't able to recover all that bullshit over the Biden administration because they were inept. Thank God. And, President Autopan in the House. And when we go and see Trump come in here, he's able to implement a lot of the changes he wants by getting key staffers. And now we're uncovering the duplicitous nature of these undercover operations the Dems are running and all these things. So when Connor talks about the fake electorate scandal and, how long did I hear about how the Russian collusion thing was a hoax, and now we hear it's a true fact statement. It's basically clearly a scandal. How often did I hear Autopin wasn't a thing? That's clearly an issue. We're finding out more and more. We're finding out there was even alleged bribes for Autopen, right? We're going to keep going down the list. So when we're going to talk about all this bullshit, I don't want to hear that you're advocating for conservatism. And I just want to point out one more thing. If Connor actually believed in Berkeley conservatism, which I still question as actual conservatism, the idea that whenever he says, hey, Trump is going to appoint social conservatives and they are going to push social conservative policies, which he admitted is happening, well, guess what? That would, even if he hates Trump, still uphold the values of Burkean conservatism, because they're going to be pushing for more social conservative policies like a return to church or community or local level politics. That's something they would push, and they would push a slower gradual change. So Connor is throughout this debate admitted Trump has done the things that he wants more.
Just going to keep going if we don't.
Well, I mean, I'm done, but listen, I'm sorry that you're having a valid point.
Do you think that January 6th was an inside job?
I don't know. I'm ready to find out more.
You're talking about undercover actors. That's what you're implying, though, is that it's an undercover job.
It seems pretty interesting. I want to see more about it.
Well, hold on. The head of the FBI said that you're wrong.
So you mentioned like a court of law. Like, do you think a congressional committee is, say, equivalent in credibility to like?
No.
No.
Do you think they're equivalent? Like, I mean, have you seen some of these committees? They have people up there and they just scream at each other. You think that's like an actual like investigation?
So you would never use a congressional committee in order to like ascertain or?
I didn't say that either. I mean, it's one of the tools. Go ahead.
I was going to say, North, were you finished?
Well, I was just wondering if he believes. Do you believe in the elector plot? Like, do you think that was an inside job, or like that, like people are lying about that?
I don't have enough information to make a determination at this point.
What do you mean you don't have enough information? You say Connor's talked about it before. Have you done no research at all into this over
I
all these years?
I have done research. I have not. I don't feel I have enough information to make a determining decision whether or not.
What information are you lacking that would prevent you from determining something?
I don't know. There's the plethora of information I think I would like to see.
Okay, well, what information do you feel like is
100%.
lacking? Okay, so in you say you've done research, right?
Yes.
What research do you feel is like inconclusive or lacking to prevent you from like making a decision on January 6th?
Listen, there is a plethora of information. I'm going to say that again.
I'm
not answering your question. Because
you're right. So you admit you're not answering my question.
Hold on, you're asking me.
That's what you're doing.
Hold on, no. You're asking me to prove like a negative, right? Like I don't know what definitive information. Like, am I supposed to say? Okay, hold on. Let me give you an example. Like O.J. Simpson, right? People think that there was determining definitive evidence that he killed someone. Court of law found him not guilty, right? And for that reason, right? People go forward. He can say he was innocent of that murder. So when you're sitting here going, I need whatever, I don't know what definitive information I need because I haven't seen the future. As much as I claim to be a prophet, the Lord doesn't come down to actually show me.
So take your OJ
I can't
example.
give you.
I
haven't seen enough to determine yet.
So like evidence that you would might find lacking would be like, oh, there was literally there's like a recording of OJ like killing his wife. That might be like evidence that you would like find lacking. So like
sure, I could make guesses if I saw them actually.
When you look at the January 6th information, what information do you find lacking?
Bro, are you want me to list a million hypotheticals? Is that what you're asking me? Like,
oh my gosh, you literally said you'd be okay with making a hypothetical with like OJ, so I can't make a hypothetical with like January 6th. What information are you lacking to make a definitive?
There's lots, bro. I'm not gonna just sit here and list 20.
I think you've done no research on January 6th.
You know what? I have done. Hold on, that's cool. You can think that I've debated January 6th about every fucking panel for the last 2 goddamn years. If you
so then you should have enough information to make a definitive opinion. Maybe, possibly.
Bro, let me ask you a question. Do you really like? You really want to go down this line of thought? Is this what we're gonna do again? Like I thought we were arguing about.
Yeah, apparently that's where we are.
That's fine. Fine. Okay. Cool. Fine. All right. Go ahead, Connor. I'm actually. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the reason why North and people like me are a little incredulous, the reason why we're upset, the reason why we've been talking about it for 5 years, is because Donald Trump claimed that he had evidence of outcome determinative voter fraud all the way back in 2020. He's had 5 years to prove it outside of court or inside of court. The argument for the fake elector scheme was that in 1960, the state of Hawaii was doing a recount where the vote was only down by like 110 votes, and they thought that JFK was going to win. So the certified election certified that Nixon had won, but Hawaii submitted an alternate slate of electors in 1960. And then it ended up that JFK had won. And so the alternate electors were not prosecuted. They were not found to be attempting anything criminal. But there's 2 problems with this. Number one, they were doing so in good faith with substantive evidence that they believed that JFK was going to win. Number 2, the election was not outcome determinative. Neither of those are true in the 2020 case. What happened was, somebody would have to remind me of the name, but there was a lawyer that was working for Trump who said that using Hawaii in 1960 as a model, what we can do is we can go to all of the battleground states where we believe there to be fraud that they've never substantiated, and we can go ahead and send our own slate of electors. And Vice President Pence, based off of the 12th Amendment, can actually vacate the vote. And if the Democrats try to challenge it, then the Electoral Act of whatever year effectively pushes it down to the House of Representatives. So not only could Vice President Pence unilaterally declare Donald Trump the winner of the 2020-2021 election, but if he fails to do so, the House of Representatives could choose Donald Trump as the president of the United States based off of Republican loyalty. So we came within a hair's breadth of Donald Trump and his lawyer, I think it was Eastman, stealing the election of our republic. Okay. There is nothing Burkean about that. There's nothing constitutional about it. And it's fucking wild that 5 years from now, Donald Trump not only promised that he was going to prove the fraud, he's had 5 years to do so. He's failed to do so in or out of court.
It's true.
So please tell me where I'm wrong.
I will tell you right? Because once again, this is the problem I have with this. Because you're sitting here saying all these things, and I think it's corrupt.
All these descriptively true things.
Hold on, I'm about to list some descriptively true things too, right? I'm going to sit here and list a few things. Kim Paxton has just filed a list right here with a ton of illegal immigrants on rolls as alleged voters right now, right? We know for a fact right now, I don't know if you've been following the news recently, but there was an illegal alien that was caught being a superintendent of a school district, right? Guess what? This person is actually registered as a Democrat voter. So when I'm sitting here going, hey, I see examples like this, I go, hey, there's smoke, there's probably fire. And so when I see us going, oh, we're going to the fight the Dems are doing with redistricting, how they're sitting here trying to rig things, how they want illegal immigration, how they want us to fund, and this is once again, I posted a source of this, fund illegal immigrants getting health care for certain things, and this is a policy they've advocated for on top of that with the Kamala. So when I'm sitting here seeing these things, and I see the game seems to be rigged, and you go, can you prove there's no fake electors? And I go, well, I'm seeing examples of illegal aliens voting. That would also be subverting the American election system and winning a vote via a legal means. There isn't anything. Hold on. Are you arguing that we don't have right here? I can give you a specific name of an illegal immigrant that was a superintendent that's a registered Dem voter. Are you telling me that didn't happen, North? If it happened,
you can say that. Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Okay, so then your next argument is it not enough?
Registered Dem voter, and that doesn't mean that illegal aliens stole the 2020 election. There's nothing been proven that's been happened. You're making
Gibbs,
hold on,
Gibbs,
we're finding evidence of social
Gibbs, let North finish. Gibbs, let North finish. Gibbs, let North finish. I will mute you.
You're making a claim, right? Okay, you say that there is a single superintendent who is a registered Democrat, right? That does not mean that the 2020 election was stolen by the Democrats. And sure, you could say, sure, you can. There's been actually, I don't think you even can claim that there's been voter fraud because there's been no evidence of voter fraud.
Hold on. If he's an illegal alien,
no, hold on.
Is that voter fraud?
There's no evidence of outcome determinative
voter fraud. Outcome determinative voter fraud.
Yeah.
Gibbs,
here's what's funny. In Arizona, they claimed that they had outcome determinative voter fraud, and they asked Arizona to recount. What they ended up doing is they added more votes for Biden.
Yeah, crazy, because it's totally not like Exxon investigated itself for its own oil leak or some shit. But hey, that's a good point. But
I'm 6 years later.
But hold on, my point is
Connor and Gibbs don't talk over each other. Connor and Gibbs don't talk over each other.
Makes a good point. Connor made a good point here. He said he admitted that what North is not willing to admit, because I guess he's either not knowledgeable.
He was willing to admit
or lying. But Counterpoints is making a good point. There's no evidence of established outcome determinative voter fraud via illegal aliens. However, under what I was told by the Dems and people on the left, like Connor and North here, I was told there was no illegal aliens. It didn't happen. Wasn't a thing. Didn't matter. And then when I go and look, I see, we're seeing examples more and more coming out now that the Trump admin is looking into this and Republican governors and their staff are looking into it. We're seeing more and more examples of illegal aliens being registered to vote as voter fraud to the point that it may soon show that there is outcome determinative voting fraud, at least in local deductions. And we have a case that actually proves this in Connecticut. There is the example that they've now been have a recall vote, and they've had to redo the thing because there's literal examples of Dems going to the ballot box and stuffing it full of fake votes. And we know this. We know that was outcome determinative at a local level. And my argument is I want to see more investigation because if we're seeing at the local level, it's primed for the federal level. Can you show me evidence that there's no proof that there's outcome
we will soon see local areas being affected by illegal immigrants affecting the election, right? That doesn't mean, do you mean by soon mean you mean in the future, right? Not in the present?
It seems like we're having plenty of evidence.
That you mean in the future, not in the as in like it's a trend that will be
I'm saying that
in the future or not the present.
No, I'm saying, it's going to be provable in the future because they are looking back at previous elections and determining that there was voter fraud.
The 6 years, have they not looked back to, or 5 years since 2020? Have they not looked back to the 2020 election?
If you got elected via voter fraud, would you look into it?
What do you, the Trump administration literally
hold on.
What evidence has there been? What
Hold on,
evidence has there been?
hold
There's
on.
nothing to investigate because it
I just gave
doesn't
you-
exist.
Oh, hold on. Well, that's interesting because I just gave you 3 examples that I can provide sources for of
That's
exactly.
not outcome determinative voter fraud.
Hold on. Well,
Which is
okay,
what you
listen.
were alleging.
Hold on, North. This is the question. One of them was outcome determinative, the Connecticut case, and so I have one example of outcome determinative at a local level. I have examples now of voter fraud that could become outcome determinative if we have enough. When I was told there was no examples of this sort of voter fraud in the first place, and so when you're sitting here saying, "Oh, well, we haven't," hold on. When you're saying, hold on. When you're saying, when you're saying in the last 4 years, why have we investigated it? Well, if you got determined, I think it's a pretty no-brainer. If you got elected via having illegals vote for you, would you sit here and investigate that thoroughly? No, obviously.
Trump has been in office for an entire year. Why isn't Donald Trump, after he's been in office for an entire year, not investigated this bullshit?
They are, and that's why we're having evidence of hearings.
Trump is willing to literally. Trump is literally willing to indict fucking Comey over.
I have provided 3 examples.
Bullshit
I have provided 3
allegations,
examples,
but they are.
and
Oh
there's
my
more.
gosh!
Oh, I provided 3 examples, and there's more of them finding voter fraud running at a rampant level to the point it could become determinative in the last previous election. And you're sitting here going, they have nothing. Well, when you say nothing's come out, and I give you examples, that's something, isn't it?
There hasn't even been any indictments for any of this. There's been no indictments.
One of the guys is getting deported, and we found he did it. What do you mean?
What do you mean people are getting fucking deported? That's not an indictment for voter fraud. Outcome determinative voter fraud.
Do you want us to waste more government dollars?
Conspiracy, but there's been nothing in the court proven for any of this.
Hold on. Once again, you're not a conservative. Once again, you want the government to waste dollars on approving an additional.
Yes, I want the government. If you are alleging voter fraud, the government should investigate that.
We already have cases. I literally gave you a specific case. Determinative voter fraud.
Not investigate the apparently massive fucking claims that the 2020 election was completely fraudulent.
Well, they're investigating it now, aren't they?
Well, you're saying they should investigate it because they're going to be wasting tax dollars money. Apparently,
that's not what I just said.
Oh my gosh, this is fucking ridiculous. Lying through your teeth. That's what you're doing. Making shit up and lying through your teeth. That's what you're doing.
I gave 3 examples. One was determined. And what I just said, since you're confused, I said in the case of the superintendent where they found evidence he was a Democratic voter, well, I don't give a shit if they add another charge. I just want him gone, and I don't want more money spent in the court. Let's just get rid of the guy, and we'll deal with the other one. I pointed a definitive case in Connecticut. I pointed to a definitive case in Connecticut, and we have several thousand people in Texas. Ken Paxton's already found, which definitely was determined at a local level.
Yeah, thank you, Gibs. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Holy shit.
Okay, so you're clearly not a fiscal conservative.
We're encroaching on the about 2-hour mark. Do we want to go ahead and go to closing arguments or closing statements?
Do we do it in the same order we did before?
Sorry?
Same order we did before?
We do it backwards.
Or so Luke.
Backwards.
The Apple Gibbs corner.
We'll do the same order. Connor,
never mind.
Shout yourself out and give a closing statement.
Okay. Yeah. My name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, politics, and philosophy nerd, Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran, a never Trump Republican. If you enjoyed any of my takes or analysis, then go ahead and type in Counterpoints Politics into your search bar. You'll find my YouTube channel. If you're into Warhammer 40K, Star Wars, or science fiction, you can type in Counterpoints 40K. Got a pretty good channel over there. Counterpoint Star Wars and Counterpoint Sci-Fi I'm starting with, but I think I'm making good content, so go ahead and check those out. In conclusion, in reference to our conversation, I think it's pretty clear that Donald Trump and the MAGA movement, by sweeping for Donald Trump, are not Burkean conservative. They're not constitutional conservative. Otherwise, they would care more about what we just talked about in the past 5 to 10 minutes. In reference to social conservative, I will concede a part that Donald Trump is emboldening Christian theocrats and emboldening Christian conservatives. However, how far he emboldens them could actually be arguably bad for the country. I do not think that Donald Trump himself is a social conservative. I think he takes God's name in vain. I think he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. I think that he is credibly accused of being a pedophile rapist. And it embarrasses me that social conservatives are willing to sweep for him. In reference to neoconservatism, I don't think he's a neoconservative. I understand that you guys said he's hawkish on a few things, but I don't think that really the way that he's hawkish is in the most stupid and incompetent way possible. He's absolutely not a fiscal conservative. I think North and I, even if we disagree with this as a panel, I think North and I demonstrated that pretty clearly in the beginning of the panel. And then he's not an environmental conservative, which I would argue Republicans, Teddy Roosevelt, and Richard Nixon were both environmental conservatives. And so there is an argument for environmental stewardship in the conservative movement that I would like to see conservatives return to. So it sucks. I hate the state of the country. But, you know, it is what it is. So thank you for having me, and I had fun.
All right. Admiral Gibbs, shout yourself out and give us a closing statement.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me here. It's been a good time. Very fun. Yeah, I think that it's pretty clear who the actual conservatives are, who are the ones actually providing sources, who are the ones being honest here. When one side provides sources and specific examples, and the other side waves their hands and says Fugazi, Fugazi, it's pretty clear which one's being the perfidious, duplicitous liars and snake oil salesmen. I would argue that neither one of these men are actually even rhinos. They're actually just dishonest Dems pretending to be Republicans. That's what's really going down here. I think that it's pretty clear when we look at social conservatism. Connery, granted, social conservatism is maybe at an all-time high in recent memory under Trump. You know, fiscal conservatism, yeah, definitely going strong here. I mean, every single way we went through, I showed exactly how he was exhibiting these conservative beliefs and leading the way. And like I said in my opening, he's a populist, right? But he's empowered conservatives. And really the issue here is that these individuals don't want to vote down ballot for these people. And these people are conservatives. You can't claim to be the conservative and then vote down ballot for socialist leftist libs, or even worse, commies, or, you know, crazier and crazier. Now, finally, you can find me at Admiral Gibbs everywhere. We'll be having a cool thing. Connor mentioned 40K. We're going to be having the Pontius versus Majin soon. I think at the end of next month, the argument over who would win in a 40K fight between two different factions. It's a very fun, silly debate. Good stuff. We do wild stuff. We do all sorts of other good shit as well, like debate nights and panels every Thursday. So check it out. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. North, shout yourself out and give us a opening statement.
Okay, yeah, you can find me at YouTube at youtube.com/@NorthIsLive. I do live streaming debates like this occasionally. I'm trying to focus on uploading prepared content onto my channel. Recently uploaded a introductory video, which is basically what I want to achieve with my channel. You can find me on Twitter at @ThatGuyIsNorth. I think it's pretty clear that me and Connor demonstrated that Trump is not a conservative. He's a populist. I mean, even Admiral Gibbs said that Trump is a populist and not a conservative. I don't know how you can claim to be a conservative while openly supporting a populist. Sorry, I'm a little bit drunk right now because I'm had a couple drinks in. You did this very wild.
We couldn't tell.
What a guy.
Yeah, we've seen the Trump administration increase the national debt to historic highs. We see them increase historic new tariffs, which are an import tax, whether you want to believe that or not. And Admiral Gibbs has even said that he wants to keep the tariffs in place in order to promote American industry. So Donald Trump has been a historic promoter of, as Admiral Gibbs conceded, socialist-like policies of taking over parts of American businesses. Donald Trump has instituted historic protectionism through giving subsidies to certain industries, which Admiral Gibbs also conceded is socialist-like. I would argue that's not conservative at all. And Admiral Gibbs also conceded that Donald Trump and Maga isn't really neoconservative. I mean, they are against American intervention into other places. One of Donald Trump's main running campaigns was being anti-Ukraine, giving foreign subsidies to like foreign countries. So I don't think you can call them neoconservative either. And when it comes to social conservatism, I think we've very much demonstrated that Donald Trump is grifting off of Christianity, is not a Christian, and also that he's a pedophile. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing at all. How can you be a social conservative if you're a literal pedophile? Like, I think this is pretty clear. Yeah, I've already said my socials. That's the end of my thing.
All right. Luke, True Republicanism. Shout yourself out, buddy.
There's not really much to shout out, but yeah, no, I had fun. It was a fun night. like mid football season right now, so I'm like struggling a little bit with keeping up with everything going on in the world. My head hurts a lot because I've been running headfirst into everything. But yeah, no, as regards to Trump, I would say that he's definitely an outgoing guy. Say what you want about his social life. I would say is very not seen well as upon to a Christian mind. But I definitely would defend a lot of his policies. A lot of them are a little bit radical in a sense. But yeah, I had fun tonight. Thank you guys. Y'all didn't really let me speak that much, but it's all right.
Well, that's also a choice on your end as well. I tried to give you time when I could.
Thank you, Corbin.
Multiple times. So, all right. Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and thank you, audience, my very generous audience, and Connor's too. They kind of rated in a little bit earlier, so I got some decent views on this. So I appreciate you guys all coming out. My name is Corbin Sales. You can find me on X, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all by the same name. Yeah, and thank you to my generous, excellent guests for coming out, and hopefully we will have all of you gentlemen back on at some point.
Your counterpoints, really quick question. Are you friends with Destiny? I heard Admiral Gibss say that. Oh shit. Let me tell him I said what's up.
Okay. You can DM me too.
All right, appreciate it. See you.
All right. Be good. Thank y'all. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Have a good one, gentlemen. Have a good night now. All right.
I was just going to see if when you end it, if it ends my stream.
It might because you're doing the thing where it's like going through this platform to.
Yeah, I have no idea. I want to try OBS on my.
Is your stream
PC,
over
but,
right now?
My stream, no.
Okay.
I'm still live. What's fucking irritating about my PC is for some reason, like OBS and Streamlabs, there's specific hardware that it doesn't work with in my PC, and I have no idea what the fuck the issue is. I've looked into it as much as I could. So hopefully I'll just get a new fucking PC soon. This one's kind of shit anyway.
Don't use Streamlabs. Use Stream Element.
Sorry, real quick. I just got a really big donation, so I want to thank the folks. Sean Kaplan, thank you for your membership. Fearmonger, thank you for your membership. Christian Valeris, insane donation, $100. Thank you.
Yeah, and everyone in Connor's chat, come sub to me. There's like 100 of you guys, all right?
Yeah, if you're in Connor's
No,
chat,
sub to Corbin
well.
Sales. So sorry, since we're probably still live with my audience. So North, if you want to blame me for not getting recruited into the lib shit right-wing liberal fucking Pisco's pet dog, you can blame North, because North was the guy who showed up and he's like, fuck liberals, they're a bunch of pussies. We shouldn't be liberals, we should be real Republicans. And I was like, base, you know what?
Within the Republican Party.
And then Corbin, even though he's a hedonistic former DGG fucking degenerate.
Fascist, don't forget, I'm the fascist guy too.
Yeah, he's a liberal fascist. So he's a cool guy too. So, you know, I'll still be coming on to debates or whatever with Corbin in the future. But realistically, if you want to check out another up and coming liberal content creator, then check out Corbin. He's a good dude.
Thank you. Yeah. We still got to do that IRL thing soon. I'm trying to. I've got like a billion things I got to do. Maybe we can get lunch or something just in the periphery or in the meantime.
Let's go to. Okay, so I'm joking and I'm not. There's a place in between us. Okay, Legoland's too expensive. That's like a few $100. So I don't have like a few $100 in order to go to Legoland with you. What I do have though is I got $50 for Dinosaur Land. Okay.
Dinosaur Land.
So Dinosaur Land is right next to Legoland. It's right in between Tampa in Central Florida. And in Dinosaur Land, it's not that crazy. They don't have that many things, but I don't smoke weed. But if you were baked and you're walking around, it would be awesome. They got snakes, they got lizards.
We should get Erudite and Ann to come.
What's that?
We should get Erudite and Ann to come.
Yeah. I mean, they're out there in the Tampa area, so I mean, I could invite them.
You guys can't.
Actually, I don't know if my audience. I don't know if my audience knows this. Oh yeah, North, you could fly down just for the day to come to Dinosaur Land with us.
You go to Dinosaur Land. I'll get ripped on hydroxyzine. You guys can get ripped on the Mary Jane, and we can walk around and look at dinosaurs.
Yeah, well, actually, speaking of Kyla and I don't think my audience knows this yet, but I just joined the Unfuck America Tour content creator program.
Oh, wait, you joined,
so,
actually?
Yeah, the training program. So they're grooming me. They're training me at the
grooming.
Hopefully, be a full.
I applied to them, and I don't know if they're going to actually accept me or not. Because that I
think there are
for the Democratic Party. So.
Yeah, I think they only do like liberal or left leaning figures because you're not like a liberal. I don't know if they would take you. Like Connor, would they allow you? Have you ever spoken about that before?
They have one or two Never Trump Republicans. I think they have like a female and they have like a black dude or whatever. And also I need to check in for when their University of Las Vegas thing is. I need to check when that's happening. But North, I will say they will try to convert you. Okay, well, so like you can go.
If MAGA can't make me work with them, then liberals are definitely not going to be able to affect me.
I know, but they'll try to groom you. They'll be like, "Oh, you don't like Trump? Well, I mean, you're pretty much a liberal anyways. Don't you like gay people? Aren't you okay with black people and transes? Aren't you okay with Hispanics? Don't you love tacos?
It's the peace.
Don't you love quesadillas? That's what it is. Yeah. Don't you love shawarma? You know, like don't you love Indian food? Yeah. You love ethnic minorities. You love ethno-religious minorities. Join the side that protects ethno-religious minorities. So
Jesus, yeah. Wait.
About this specifically.
Well, North, how consistent is your upload? Like, have you uploaded much, or do you do much content yet?
I only have one official upload on my channel.
Okay, yeah, that's probably why.
It's probably not. Well,
I upload a lot, and
I thought of them. It's probably not going to be much anyway because I don't want to. No offense, Connor, but I said in my video I don't want to upload slop. I guess I don't want to constantly upload. Just
No. I think it takes a plurality of tactics. I also think that you have to know your strong suit. So as an example, I don't really love slop, but I would say I'm okay at slop. You know, it's worked out so far, 100 to 150 viewers daily on random political slop. And sometimes we get higher than that. And I have a disproportionately smart and generous audience. Grassroots Hegemon, Christian Valeris, and a whole bunch of other people. They seriously support the stream. They put their money where their mouth is. And thank you, Sean Kaplan and Fearmonger specifically for supporting it, supporting the channel tonight. But realistically, I heard you say that in your video essay where you're like, I don't just want to put slop into the world. I don't feel like it's productive. And I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah,
I see how it is.
A subtle dig.
Yeah. No, but I think it's true. There's a lot more wind than there is productive intellectual conceptualization of politics. And so if you know that you're stronger in essay format with coherent, concise, specific topics, then you got to play to your strength, especially if you find slop off-putting.
Well, one of the reasons why it's not just slop off-putting. That's I guess one of the reasons why. Another reason is if I want to convince someone, I feel like it'd be a lot easier instead of saying okay, I made 15 different videos where I debated people and I uploaded the stream clips onto my channel. I don't think that's as effective at convincing someone than if I would have made a full J6 breakdown, for example, explain all the everything that happened in it and all the conspiracy theories revolving around it and the Hawaii context, or what was the other example that you gave? There's a separate example of whether a state was going to go one way. Oh, Florida. There's things like that where they feel you can go on stream and you can go talk about the context, but I want something that people can link to other people to share. This is what you should be watching in order to change it. At least that's my mindset.
Yeah. Well, I would say between North and I, for that conversation or panel, there was a, spicy enough but not too chill debater. If we did a Goku fucking, I don't know, power up fucking move where we took our two souls.
I need to go take a piss.
Yeah. If we took our two souls and we smashed them together into a single Never Trump Republican debater, I think we would have been perfect. I was too chill. You were too spicy.
I
but
was
in the
a
middle,
little
We
out there.
were there.
Admiral Gibbs has pissed me the fuck off, honestly.
Dude, I needed it though. I needed you to be that way because if I did not take a hydroxyzine, I would have been right there with you. I would have been screaming. I would have had a heart attack. I would have had a stroke. I would have freaked the fuck out. So the fact that I had you, like Gibbs says something stupid, and I'm like, okay.
Openly lying about this bullshit.
Dude, well, and I think you see it because there's a reason why I haven't talked to Gibbs in months, because I actually told Prime, I was like, I don't want to talk to Gibbs. And the reason why I don't want to talk to Gibbs is because of exactly what happened tonight, where we're not talking about definitions. If you're asking about definitions, it's a sneaky debate tactic. The other person is lying. And then if you make any kind of description if you make any kind of concession to descriptive reality, like for instance, if I say Trump himself is not a social conservative, however, giga Christian conservatives, Christian nationalists, and Christian theocrats are emboldened by the Trump administration, he's like, oh, I won the debate. And it's like, no, dude, this is like a facet of like a 10-point conversation, but you're too dumb to understand the 10 points. So fuck you.
Well, I'm the moderator, so I have to be neutral on who I think won or lost. But I will say, North, you were probably the most difficult person I've had to moderate in a debate, and I've moderated Andrew Wilson in a debate. Okay, like Jesus Christ, you were screaming so much, you almost blew my fucking eardrum out.
Sorry if my mic was a little bit loud. I think I have. Okay.
Yeah, I turned down your mic a shit ton. I had to mute you like 3 times.
Hold on. Yeah, I don't know what is actually my. Okay, my audio output is a virtual cable, so it's going through my OBS filters and then going out, and there should be a noise filter. Now,
well, regardless, you shouldn't be fucking yelling at the top of your lungs for half of the debate.
No, but Corbin, you're saying that as if that's debate advice. But my chat was like, oh, tell North to chill out. And I'm like, dude, no, North is doing what I normally do with Admiral Gibbs. If I did not take a hydroxyzine, because hydroxyzine is it's like Benadryl, right? But it makes you chemically incapable of giving a shit. So I'm still getting angry, but my anger is super muted and it's like down in my soul. Whereas, like, if I did not take a hydroxyzine, I would have freaked the fuck out and started screaming. And I also would have lost. Like, I walked us through like the 5 or 6 points of conservatism that I felt that Trump is not representative of. If I was going for a normal debate without hydroxyzine, I would have lost those talking points almost immediately. Like within 5 minutes, I just would have been calling him an orangutan, calling him subhuman, calling him a chimpanzee, saying that he's dumb, he doesn't know what he's talking about, like argue, like, how Pisco goes like, yes or no, like, how he does that in debates. I would be like, define socialism now. Like that's what I'd be doing. And some people like the spurg outs and some people like the logic. So I don't really know.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit of like a tough balancing act. I don't want to mute too much. I don't want to like there's a reason that I try to be as removed from the conversation as possible. I think the rage, the hyperactive, spurging is good, but it also doesn't lend itself to a productive conversation. Like that debate that I hosted with Andrew and Soy last week, it like for the entirety of the debate, like I was trying to we were on the cusp of just becoming pure trolling and memery for for 90% of the debate, and then it finally descended into that by the end when Soy insulted Andrew's wife. Just at that point, it's like, yeah, there's no return now. Like we're in full meme territory.
Well, and so Christian Valera says the logic folks aren't Oilers in this community, which is probably true. But I went on to Raging Tomato and I called Trump a pedo repeatedly. And she was like, no, that's a no-no word. That's going to get me a yellow $sign. Stop saying the no-no word. And then I got onto a open panel with Rob Knorr, and I think I went even harder. So I think like when I go on...
Oh, God. I think I'm supposed to be debating Rob Knorr and Alex Stein next week on Modern Day Debates. Ugh.
That's gonna be tough, bro.
That's like two.
Out for you.
That's like two really different styles of debate too. Like Rob Knorr is a lot more kind of like, okay, we're gonna bring the facts of the matter. We're gonna do like he's like spitting out a million facts at once. A little bit more, I think, a little bit easier to engage with because like he's actually, I guess, more trying to have a conversation. Whereas Alex Son is just like a shit poster. Like, how am I supposed to like deal with that total imbalance of conservative commentators?
Yeah. So, well, that's so. So that's the balance, right? Because the spurgouts, the freakouts, the screaming, the yelling, I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of what drives traffic. Like it does. Like, you know, Christian Blaris, who's the person who did the big dono tonight, he's like, listen, I love it when you spurg. So, but then I have all the other people who are like, no, follow the logic chain. Just be a little bit more assertive. And so, you know, realistically, like I don't know what to do, because realistically, like, you know, if you want clips, you get the clips of like, no, fuck you. You don't know what you're talking about. You're a piece of shit. You're subhuman, blah, 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 blah. That's how you get clips. So I don't know.
True.
I don't know how to balance it. I really don't. So
You just gotta use your.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like totally aware of the Admiral Gibbs guy. Like, I didn't check out a ton of his stuff. Like, I saw some of his debates. He seemed a little bit meme-ish, but I wasn't entirely sure how quickly it would descend. And it derailed pretty quickly.
Did you think it would be this bad?
No, it derailed pretty quickly. Like,
Yeah.
I unironically had an easier. I feel like I unironically had an easier time moderating Andrew Wilson than I did North.
Well, Andrew Wilson, I've seen Andrew Wilson be good faith before, and then also when I'm debating Andrew Wilson, if he like talks for 2 or 3 minutes and then I start talking and like I let him talk like the whole 2 or 3 minutes, and then he starts interrupting me immediately, I'm like, whoa, bro, I just gave you like 2 to 3 minutes. Let me cook a little bit. And he'll actually let you do that, because I think that he
did that in my first.
Yeah, so he can entertain back and forth, but during blood sports, he will go to blood sports tactics.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It just kind of depends on what mood he's in, I guess.
Right. And then with Gibbs in particular, what I'll say is that I've fallen down the rabbit hole of being insulted by Admiral Gibbs, where he's like, well, you're not a real Republican and you love socialism and all that kind of shit. And then I freak the fuck out.
Oh.
And then Christian Blaris for $50 says, you know, the correct path forward. He's trying to encourage me to be more of a spurg. He's trying to encourage me to use worse language. That's what Christian Blaris is trying to do.
What's funny is Christian Blaris is telling me to chill the fuck out. And you're
dude, I got God, who's that like Ukrainian guy or that Russian guy who talks really slow, who does all the interviews?
Ukrainian guy, Russian guy.
I know what you're talking about. Who the fuck is
It's he's pale and he does interviews, and he's interviewed Destiny, he's interviewed Joe Rogan, he's interviewed all these big people.
Yeah, hold on.
Come on, somebody help me. Somebody help me.
Michael Malice.
No,
but same category.
Lex Friedman.
Lex Friedman.
Oh, Lex Friedman. Okay.
So I got Lex Friedman on what, like, my angel side, and he's like, no, Connor, everybody deserves love, and we should understand each other and, you know, focus on building a better world. And then I got Christian Blaris on the other fucking shoulder. He's like, no, fuck him, call him the F slur.
I think
That's what's going on.
An important
And
distinction.
Patriarch donated 10 gifted memberships. Thank you, King. I parasocially love you guys. I really should probably just become a statist libertarian, because Grassroots is a statist libertarian, and I'm pretty sure Patriarch is a statist libertarian.
Dude, just go
and I don't know what Christian Blaris's background is, but that's...
Dude, just go full Rothbard, like be a full-on ANCAP, man.
Yeah, just be like, no, the state's cringe.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, the state's the root of all evils. We should reduce taxes, man.
I had an ANCAP professor. He was an econ professor. It was pretty fucking interesting.
Yeah.
He was also a Christian. He spent our first class talking about how evolution isn't actually real, because I went to a Christian college at the time.
Oh, nice. This was the prototype college.
This was you guys know Liberty University?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there.
I want to know.
No, well, I think Corbin told me a little bit about it. It was like the first attempt at a uniquely conservative college.
This is a thing that conservatives.
I don't think it was the first
Right.
attempt. It's pretty old school.
Okay.
Oh, really?
I think you're talking about the Coleman Hughes one, the anti-SJW or anti-woke college.
Maybe you told me about one like while we were driving around, because I remember we were driving on like a curve. He was up in DC. Jesus Christ, Christian Blair, I understand you got a promotion, but holy fuck, stop flexing. Connor, if you become a Dave Smith clone, I will kill myself at the airport. Okay, then Christian Blair as my second. As my second largest orbiter, I cannot make you kill yourself. So I will, or not largest orbiter, second largest oiler, I can't make you kill yourself. So Patriarch,
Dave Smith
Patriarch
himself
and
just
Christian
makes me wanna
Blair,
kill
get
myself.
together and I'll
Makes me
split the
wanna kill
difference
myself.
between your two
There's
political
this
perspectives.
criticism that
Did you see he just interviewed Nick Fuentes?
Yes, I'm going to watch that tomorrow.
Oh,
Sure.
God.
There's a criticism
like-
that I have of conservatives, and I say this as a conservative, obviously, that whenever conservatives are faced with a challenge, we like to run away and like do our own thing instead of actually like fighting
No,
the
that's
fight.
so true. Every
Um,
normie conservative is letting the psychos run the asylum because they're too busy working their jobs, taking care of their family, paying their bills, paying their taxes, and then enjoying the fruits of their labor. Like that's the thing. It's like I could go outside and I could talk to a dozen Republican-leaning people. They might have, some of them voted for Trump, some of them didn't. But realistically, like all of them would be able to intelligently critique what's going on with policy, because actually I live in a nice neighborhood, but they would never lift a finger in order to do it. Like they themselves would never run for politics. They would just talk about it at a party. They would never run for politics themselves. Jesus
Well,
Christ, Patriarch with another 10 gifted memberships. I parasocially love you. Thank you kindly.
I think
Holy shit.
another example though is the conservatives who recognize like that Trump is like a populist and like he is against what is traditionally considered American conservative value. Those people that recognize that, instead of fighting within the Republican Party, they decided to leave and like join the Democratic Party. So what's his name?
No, that's what I think I told you that Bill Kristol said that to me. So I went to a event that I was invited to, which was called Liberalism for the 21st Century, and they were talking about every single country except for the United States, which pissed me off. They were talking about Ukraine, they were talking about Egypt, they were talking about like all these different places that obviously need freedom, but you would think that we would be focused on the current kind of national emergency that we're involved in, but we weren't. And so that's not what they talked about. Well, I walked up to Bill Kristol and I was like, hey, man, I want to be like the never Trump Republican Tucker Carlson. Like, I want to be the next large political commentator, but I want to represent your belief system. And he actually like looks at me in the eyes and he's like, listen, man, the Republican Party is dead. Just be a Democrat. And he, dude,
Come to the dark side, guys. Come to the dark
so he
side.
said
Okay?
that. He said that, but I swear to God, if I handed him a gun to take his own life, there was like a 50-50 shot that he would have done it. Like I don't know if I should take advice from a
the
dude
problem
who's
is-
like black-pilled and depressive.
When we conservatives run away from places, we concede it to the people that are opposing us. So, like, people like Ryan Malani like to talk about how conservatives conceded academia, right? And I think that is like a good criticism, that when we were pushed on academia, we decided to run away and we decided to do our own like little thing with like these little small conservative universities instead of actually fighting within academia. And it's the same within the Republican Party too. When the populists started coming in and they started pushing us, we decided just not to fight back. And the people that recognized this just fucked off to the Democratic Party or the Libertarian Party. So instead of fighting the fight, we conceded the Republican
I'll
Party
admit,
to the populists.
so Ryan, interestingly enough, we have a group chat that we named The Real Republican. So talking to a, content creator who named himself The Real Republican or whatever, I was like, damn, are we going to get like in a huge fight tonight? But then he ended up being like a pretty young guy who I think is trying to figure it out. So we didn't fight a lot.
Just for record, I didn't know he was 15 when I brought him on. Okay.
That's fine. It's all right. As long as you don't try to groom him for other purposes besides political discourse, I think we'll be okay.
Well,
But
I'm just going to politically groom him. Okay, there's a difference.
Yeah, Gen X says it's way past my bedtime, boys. Go to bed, Gen X. I'll see you tomorrow. And then what was I thinking though? But in that, I think Ryan is, because he voted for Democrats through, I think, 16. And so I think it was 16. Maybe it was Obama that turned him off. But there was something that happened around that time where he just like fell out with the Democratic Party. And then I think that because he's kind of like a nascent right-winger conservative or whatever, or like philosophically, he's probably been the same his entire life.
Well,
Right-winger?
Ryan is a special case. There's people like
He talks about like
Arent
natural
and-
rights and shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say food shops and like Erudite, like to classify him as like a big MAGA guy. I don't think he's a MAGA guy.
No.
I mean, if you look at, did you watch the interview between Erudite and Ryan?
I watched the first 40 minutes of it, and I think that basically what happened is on the trolley problem, because people are saying it in chat right now, where they're like,
Oh, wait, is he the lawyer guy?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's a lawyer.
Oh, I'm supposed
he was
to.
like, but in his
him.
trolley analysis, he's as likely to pull it for Republicans as he is to pull it for Democrats. And I think that makes Democrats and liberals very uncomfortable because they don't understand how you could conceptualize these threats the same way. And I actually kind of agree with Democrats in reference to that one.
I mean, I can understand. I disagree with Ryan's assessment about like the threat of like MAGA Republicans and like the threat of Democrats. I would say the threat of MAGA is much more right now to like our Constitution. So I disagree with Ryan's assessment, but I can understand where he is coming from.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
And a lot of people think, I think a lot of people think that
conceptualize
he's
it.
lying or he's grifting. I don't think he's lying or grifting. I think
No,
that's
I
like
don't
his
think so.
earnestly held perspectives. Is that I think I heard him say this. So if I misrepresent his position, my apologies. But I think I heard him say like, yeah, I kind of care about world events, but realistically, I have to look at what's going to affect me and my family. And I think a lot of people think that way. And so when it comes to, you know, people who are bringing up the trans and kids or whatever, liberals and progressives, you might say like, oh, that's so silly. You're going to throw away the republic because you think there's like a 1% chance that a high school teacher is going to try to trans your kids. But I mean, he's not the only person who thinks that way, right?
Well, yeah, but how should I put this? He DM'd us, by the way. I don't know if you saw that in the group chat, that he said that he voted for Dems in 2020 as well. So,
In 16?
no, 2020. I don't know about 16.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Uh,
So that was fairly recent. Ryan, if
and
you can
then-
hear me, did I hear you correct that one of the things that turned you off about Democrats was in reference to the Affordable Care Act, where you felt like Obama was creating extra constitutional legal bullshit out of thin air? And so that was one of your things where you were like, oh, the Democrats will violate the Constitution left, right, and center as long as they think they're doing the right thing.
Oh, sure.
'Cause I
If Ryan
feel
wants to
like
hop
that was
on, I'll
just-
send him the link.
Yeah, I might hang out for, it's 10:30 right now. I'll probably hang out for like another 10 or 15 minutes, but I think after that I need to chug water, go to bed, and get ready for tomorrow's stream. So
I
what
gotta
are you
go
doing
do
tomorrow?
some DoorDashing tonight, so
Oh,
I
nice.
gotta sober up a little bit because I drank a little bit of alcohol, but then once I'm fully sobered up.
Oh, okay. So I took hydroxyzine in order to restrain myself. You drank alcohol, which made you less restrained. Okay, it's all coming together.
I drink it on stream. I drink this negative 196 bullshit, and then this.
Nice. We should
Ranger
do,
beer.
okay, what we should do, if we had, I voted Dem in 2020. I can't hop on tonight. Let's chat about it soon, though. Okay, cool. So what we should do, there was this guy, he was a DeSantis Republican. He was also like a military veteran who used to be fat and then he lost weight. I forget his name, but he used to, I think it's John Burke. And Burke used to do drunken debates. And effectively, like, he didn't need to get wasted. But on Friday nights, it was heavily encouraged that you have an alcoholic beverage and then you basically do a Twitch poll panel. And so I think we would probably have to be on like Rumble or Kick in order to, because I'll start being crazy. So like, I think we borderline need to be on a different platform.
I'm not monetized on YouTube, so I don't really care about that shit. So
Yeah. So, but dude, like 2 or 3 beers deep, screaming about like treason and shit. That I think that would be the jam.
we should do a mandatory shot as part of that. So like we'll have
Yeah,
like
so that
10 people in, everyone's drinking, and then like when one person gets voted off, everyone else gets a shot. You just keep doing that.
Oh yeah. And then we should set up rules like logical fallacy shit, where like if you commit a logical fallacy, you have to drink, you have to take like a big sip, or you have to do a shot. Yeah, dude, that'd be sick. So Lethal Lance says, if you can't see how absolutely batshit insane Trump is compared to every single previous Republican before him, you're either bad faith or an actual arsler. Well, dude, Lethal Lance, I think that's part of the reason why I stopped getting as mad tonight. Is number one, I obviously took hydroxyzine, but I saw this tweet and I swear to God, it kind of fixed the way that I look at politics, where it's like, whenever you get frustrated by somebody sharing a political opinion, imagine that they're 12 years old and then see if you're still mad. And so like when I hear Gibs, and I'm going to be a little bit of a dick about it, but when I hear him say, well, in reference to Trump, even if somebody's claiming that I was 14 or they were 14 years old when they slept with Trump, and even if we have this 2003 letter, I believe in innocence until proven guilty. Therefore, I'm not going to believe any of these malicious lies or rumors. And then I'm like, hey, what do you think about drones striking people in the Caribbean? And he's like, that's based. That's amazing. I love murdering narco terrorists in the Caribbean. I was like, oh, well, if you were 12, that makes sense. Like you sweet for somebody you like, and then you flip your opinion on due process the second that it's somebody that you don't care about. Okay, that makes sense.
I think something that we did wrong on this debate, or I guess I'll say I did wrong, is
screaming, getting drunk. Well, gotta be more specific.
We let Admiral Gibs set the narrative that we were specifically like trying to exclusively promote Democrats. But the narrative that we need to be building is that we are Republicans fighting to change the Republican Party.
That's a fucking uphill battle for you guys.
Like, no, I'm aware, but
like one hell of an uphill battle.
It defeats a lot of these things that people like Admiral Gibbs say, like, oh, what about Kamala? Like, I don't give a shit about Kamala. Like, I mean, in the 2024 election, I abstained. So I don't. Oh. I mean, if I redo my vote, I probably would have voted for Kamala. Like,
okay, that's good.
Retroactively,
no, but I think liberals need to get off their fucking high horses about that shit though, because an abstained vote is still, because I believe in the lesser of two evils or whatever. That's still less ammunition for your opponent. So oftentimes liberals, they get all fucking snooty because they're like, oh, you didn't fire your gun, but you didn't turn around and shoot at your own teammates. You're a piece of shit. And it's like, bro, like he ceased fire in the middle of a conflict. Can we go ahead and like get like a little bit of perspective, especially in a conflict this heated?
No, you don't. Nah.
Yeah.
Nah. If the lesser of two evils, if it's a difference of lesser of two evils between like a murderer and some guy that like pokes you, right? Obviously, you're going to go with.
You understand? People don't look at it that way.
I don't care if people know that. I don't care if people look at it that way.
It's also about electoral effectiveness as well. So imagine that let's say I had a theoretical audience of like 100,000 people, right? And they're all like Republicans. I feel like it would be easier for me to convince 80,000 of that like 100,000 audience to abstain their vote than it would be to convince like 20,000 to vote for like the Democrats. Like, yeah, you got to talk about like what's more effective here.
Well, I guess it would. I guess it would depend on like it depends on the I guess the conditions that either side is like. Is it a matter of fact that the Democrats are losing votes, or is it a matter of fact that the Republicans are winning votes, or maybe both happening at once?
Okay, I think that means that the Republicans are getting less votes, right? So that ultimately would help the Democrats.
Okay, my issue though, so this is my issue, is that I view January 6, 2021 as one of the biggest betrayals in like recent American history. Like has to be.
Yeah, it's about as bad as 9/11.
What? Okay. So anyways,
hold on. You acknowledge like just on a macro scale that's true, right?
Okay. I acknowledge on a macro scale that Trump getting into office in 24 is probably more destructive to human life than 9/11/2001. Although I don't know if that's true because the war on terror was kind of fucking crazy. But as an isolated incident, 9/11/2001,
Yeah, in terms of like
would be
actual
less
atrocity.
destructive. Yeah, would be less destructive than a second Trump presidency.
But
Actually, if you're just talking about
Trump, you know, like leading an insurrection against our country. It's a threat that sets a really like that kind of shakes our institutions to their core.
Yes, 9/11/2001, if we eliminated away from the war on terror, 9/11/2001 as an individual incident would never destroy the United States of America. It's too big. Whereas creating a constitutional crisis where half of the party fabricates the fact that they won the election makes it so hopefully we can solve that through the courts. But if we can't solve that through the courts, then unironically, it's time to solve that through violence. So yeah, that it's effectively like an attempt.
Yeah, one leads to civil war, another leads to like maybe invading Afghanistan.
Let's be clear here so that we aren't like Fed posting, right? Our democratic
Wait, sorry, what's the question?
I was gonna say, let's be clear here so that we aren't Fed posting. As our democratic institutions are still in place, as long as they remain in place, we know there will be no advocacy
We'll see.
for violence.
Didn't they just end injunctive relief for
legal and defensive violence? And by the way, Corbin, at least on my end, it's been like this for a minute. North is kind of quiet on my end. I think you might have turned him down when he was yelling.
Oh yeah, I turned him down. Yeah.
If you could bump him a little bit, just because I'm having a little difficulty hearing him. But all I was going to say is, yes, it's an attack at the core. But if you listen to conservatives who get suckered into the propaganda, they think that it's a legalistic dispute in that the riot and January 6th itself had nothing to do with the legalistic dispute. So what they think is that because there was precedent, there was a novel legal theory is what they called it. Somebody already told me the name of the guy who did it. But the guy who did it said that Jefferson in 18 whatever counted electoral votes that he was not supposed to count towards an election. I have no idea if it was outcome determinative, but effectively that sets the precedent that the vice president, when counting the electoral votes, is not a ceremonial role. It's actually an administrative role. The vice president can make decisions about what electors he sees as valid. That was the first part of the argument. The second part of the argument is that when an election is in dispute, Hawaii submitted 2 classes of electoral voters, 3 for JFK, 3 for Nixon. And the history behind that was that Hawaii was doing a recount. They thought that JFK was going to win, but Nixon had originally won by like 110 votes. And so what happened was they sent both slates of electors. Nixon ended up winning anyway, or excuse me, JFK ended up winning anyway. So it wasn't outcome determinative. But then what ended up happening was the alternative slate of electors were accepted and ended up being validated through the recount process. So through that, they're making a legalistic argument that Eastman, somebody said Eastman. So Eastman was making a legalistic argument that the vice president could have thrown out the votes in the states that were in dispute. Then he could declare Donald Trump the winner by doing that. And then if it was challenged, because I think you need 270 votes to win or whatever, if it was challenged that Donald Trump needed 270 to win, then he could push it to the House of Representatives, which was already Republican. And
I know how the
Well, all I was going to say
they wanted to get like delegate. They wanted to win through a delegate vote.
Right. The reason why the January 6th insurrectionists weren't armed is because they thought that they would be able to steal the election. They didn't think they needed guns.
I wouldn't even say. I think the January 6th people,
the people themselves, didn't think they were stealing the election.
I don't think they were part of like some grant. I think they were a tool used by Donald Trump in order to pressure Mike Pence. Like, I think that's pretty indisputable. That it's not like those people were out there thinking we're going to steal the election for Donald Trump or anything like that.
Yeah, the idea is they're stealing back or they're stopping the steal.
I'm not denying that.
That's the point. It was stop the steal. But the issue with obviously that the idea of it being a specious legal theory is that those are incredibly bad faith readings that no other legal scholar in the right mind would ever admit. Like the Hawaii legislature approved that the alternative slate of electors. whereas Donald Trump fabricated, right? Like that's why he was charged with fraud, defrauding the American people. And then also Pence being able to unilaterally just like toss the vote or like count electoral votes is also bullshit because the precedent they were trying to use wasn't allowed to begin with. And then on top of all of that, even Eastman admitted that if it was presented to the Supreme Court, it would probably lose 9-0.
No, well, and so that's where, for me, what happens is because we analyze the specifics, or I feel like we've tried to analyze the specifics, you and I view Eastman as like bad faith. We view Trump.
Well, he
as bad
admitted
faith.
that it was illegal. Like it wouldn't win in court. And his own language was that they were going to depart from the ECA. Right, like he acknowledged that it was against the law. But then his argument was that the 12th Amendment overrules the ECA. So, regardless of whether or not, like he acknowledges that it's against the ECA's guidelines.
Yeah, no, yeah. I agree. And what he was hoping to achieve, at least in what I read, was that if somebody challenged him on the ECA, which is the Electoral College Act or something, I think it was passed in the late 19th century, he was going to argue that the 12th Amendment... It was
unconstitutional, basically.
Yeah, that the 12th Amendment supersedes the ECA. But the whole point about this is, you and I think North to some degree, we understand that these people lie all the fucking time for power. And so as a result, since they're willing to lie for power, they're not forwarding these arguments in good faith because they genuinely believe that the election was stolen. They're doing it because they want their guy to win, and they will do whatever it takes in order to win. And I think that when it comes to Gibbs, though, I think what happens is they start with a conclusion, which is Donald Trump is good for America. And then they work backwards from that conclusion. And they say, well, Donald Trump couldn't have tried to destroy the Republic because he's the hero the Republic needs. And then they just try to jam evidence, into the arguments in order to say, oh, well, there were 3 people that I know of that were illegal aliens that voted in elections. Therefore, the 2020 electoral fraud that's alleged by Donald Trump is possible, borderline probable. Which is a really stupid way to deal with the world, but plenty of people do it that way. They start with a conclusion and they work backwards.
No, yeah. I think everyone is guilty with this, but the problem is you're probably right that people like Admiral Gibbs, they do start with a conclusion and then they work backward in order to justify their convictions. But the problem is that when they're like media figures and they're having influence on people over the election, I feel like we should be able to judge people about that when they're intentionally or when they're spreading this false information.
I agree, but then this is where I get
sure you can understand it, but
hold on, it's calling people because when Corbyn calls a MAGA simp r-slurred or stupid or whatever, I don't think that really does anything because Corbyn's fighting for liberals, and if he hurts a Republican's feelings, that's no skin off of his ass, right? But if you and I are trying to convince not Gibbs, but we're trying to convince people in Gibbs's audience that we're correct and Gibbs is a moron, for instance, whatever that kid's name was. I want that kid to think about what I said tonight, and I want him to drift my way, even if he doesn't understand everything. And I did see him laughing when I called Gibbs an orangutan and a chimpanzee a few times. But I don't know if that's enough to convince him of my worldview.
I feel like you can insult these people as well as be not kind, but what's the proper term? Accepting.
I think it depends. I think it depends on the person.
That's obviously true, but I mean, okay, so if there's someone who's from Admiral Gibbs' audience, right? And they contact me saying hey, I thought that Admiral Gibbs was wrong here. You might have something right. I'm not going to be oh yeah, you're just a total retard because you previously supported Admiral Gibbs or something. No, we need to show grace to people in order to bring them into what we want to achieve. And I feel like this is a problem among Democrats in which they would rather own the right than try to convince people that they're show grace to people.
What fucking world are you living in? I don't know. Sorry, what?
No, well, hold on. So I agree with North, but I think that I've seen liberal frustration where
Liberals have been so kind to Republicans. I don't know where this
well, I don't
is
agree with
coming
that. But I think
Whoa.
that I think they've tried sometimes in the past, but no offense, Corbin.
What do you mean
are-
sometimes in the past?
No, but liberals are smug.
Dude,
And self-righteous.
Okay, hold on. Do you know how much of a firestorm there was from both sides of the aisle, including the left, when Kathy Griffin, was that the comedian's name, who held up like the image of Donald Trump's like severed head? I went back and I looked at like even the deplorable comments from Hillary Clinton. That got a lot of criticism from a lot of people on the left. Even back then, the left has just been so much more democratic this whole fucking time.
But
like when Donald Trump,
you're criticizing your own side. That's not in terms of criticizing Republicans, right?
Well, hold on. And also, here's another thing.
What do you mean I'm criticizing?
This is one of the. Hold on. I want to share with you guys what was so funny to me when I finally got on Twitter, because I wasn't on Twitter for a long time. I was on Facebook probably through like 19 or 20, and then I was in Facebook groups, like Jordan Peterson Facebook groups through like 19 or 20. And Sorry, what's that?
No, I was nothing.
Oh, well, that's actually how I met
Ringo, right?
Faraday Speaks.
Oh, Faraday Speaks. Right. I was thinking.
So classic part of internet lore right there. But the point is that what I noticed, because I was being shown things that pissed me off every single day. There was some liberal or lefty who had some smug dipshit comment on Twitter. And so what right-wing propagandists do is they screenshot the shittiest dog shit left-wing takes. And if it blew up and it was a well-liked tweet, they show you the metrics. If it was a tweet that got like 3 likes, they cut the metrics out. And then they put it in the Facebook groups so everybody can get so fucking mad about how stupid liberals and progressives are. And then the chat is filled with like, hundreds of likes, thousands of comments. People are fighting in the replies and all this kind of shit. And then I go to Twitter and I see one of the cringe tweets that had been posted in the Jordan Peterson Facebook group, and it had like 2 likes. And I was like, the right wing is partially, not always, but they're partially self-radicalizing by finding the shittiest left-wing takes they can possibly find.
Not even partly.
And then showing it to their audience to piss them off.
No, that's all Republicans do. Like,
you're talking to
I've seen some shitty left-wing takes.
There could be some shitty ones, but like the majority of the right-wing like examples of the left being like radical or using extreme rhetoric is like Joe Biden having a speech with an image in the background that's red, or I'm sorry, with like a red background, and they say that's radical in and of itself, even though like he was so kind and he qualified so fucking much in that conversation, and they still take it out of context.
Spicy lane, yeah, he might have said one spicy phrase that was taken out of context.
If you want like a recent example, there was a huge firestorm, people calling for Jimmy Kimmel to get fucking fired when he like the second that Kirk was murdered, he like took to social media and sent prayers out to his family, and I was actually surprised at how much he was criticizing people who were celebrating Kirk's death on the left.
Sure.
And like they still, and then Brendan Carr and Benny Johnson go live, and they say that he was essentially saying that Charlie Kirk deserved to die just because he was critical of how the right was trying to desperately paint the shooter as anyone other than Maga the second that Kirk died.
For sure, but then where I think that we get a little bit lost in translation is my wife is like a normie liberal. Okay, maybe she's like a little progressive or whatever, but she was like, "Yeah, fuck Charlie Kirk." That's my house with like a wine mom, and then people ask me like how I feel.
Anecdotes are lovely, but.
No, but she's a fucking liberal wine mom, and then same thing.
Okay, to be fair,
to
be fair, middle class white women are like the radicals of the left. Okay,
oh, dude,
just
yeah,
to be fair.
No, they say some sociopathic shit for sure.
Gosh.
But no, but even for me, like, you know, I don't hold any ill will. What was actually really interesting about going to a Trump
I had to go.
a Trump rally. Yeah, we should probably go to bed in a second. But going to a Trump rally was, I was like, oh, these are my people, because they all looked like EMTs and firefighters and people who work at restaurants. They were all like working class schmoes in Milwaukee. And so I was thinking to myself, like, oh, this is my people. Like, these are the people that I hang out with, you know, at work or every single day.
Call the low information voters.
But well, right. That's what I was gonna say. But I wouldn't trust these motherfuckers to vote.
We'll just do the Andrew Wilson thing. Let's do the Andrew Wilson.
They're good people, but I don't trust them to vote.
You have to have you have to be able to like pass an exam or have like a certain IQ to vote.
Wait, sorry, what was that last part?
I said we'll just do the Andrew Wilson thing. You have to have a certain IQ to vote.
Well, I mean, unironically, I wish I could do that, but a lot of people don't like that take.
Yeah, I don't know if I like it either.
Yeah. But you know, the wine moms are fierce. But I'm probably gonna wait for North to come back, and then I'm gonna dip out because I am supposed to be. It's almost 11 o'clock. I am gonna be up tomorrow morning streaming, as well as I'm supposed to be doing like Warhammer edits and all that kind of stuff. I was supposed to do it tonight. Realistically, I'm gonna do it tomorrow.
Get your chatters to raid my stream.
Yeah, actually, well, I'm going to wait for North to come back. But realistically, if you guys are still going to be up and you want something to do, go hang out with Corbin Sales. And then Corbin, what I was going to suggest is the Young Turks, or excuse me, the guy who wrote, I spent 1 week watching Hassan Piker, talking shit about Hassan Piker. They just released, I spent 1 week watching the Young Turks. So I'm going to do that as a React Andy tomorrow. And then also Nick Fuentes versus Dave Smith. Those are probably going to be the two contents that I do tomorrow.
You mean Dave Smith sucking off Nick Fuentes for?
I hope not. I hope not. Although he does play footsie with the far right.
Oh God! Did you see his? I
watched Coleman Hughes. Coleman Hughes did pretty good.
Oh yeah, Coleman Hughes was. Yeah, I like Coleman Hughes. He does some okay stuff. I don't know if like fuck all about Israel Palestine, but he seemed to know more about Dave.
Yeah,
more than
no,
Dave
he was able to call
debate.
Dave on his shit. But North, I'm about to leave in a second, so I'm gonna thank all my donors. Sean Kaplan and Fearmonger, thank you for your membership. Christian Blair's donated $100 for the fund. Then he gave 50, saying, "You know the correct path," trying to get me to use more ableist slurs. Patriarch gave a total of 20 gifted memberships. What a fucking king. And then Christian Blair's gave another 50, saying, "Connor, if you become a Dave Smith clone, I will kill myself at the airport. And I will not do that to you. Do not worry about it." But thank you for oiling tonight, Christian Blair's. Thank you, Patriarch, for oiling tonight. And thank you, Sean Kaplan and Fearmonger. I'm going to dip out. That way I can give you guys some content at 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. But if you're bored, go watch North or Corbin. They're friends of the channel. They're cool people.
You watch me. Well, I need donations if you're going to watch me, because otherwise I got to go do DoorDash.
You can't take
I got to make
donuts.
money. I'm not monetized on YouTube. So.
All right, well, you know what?
Right.
Connor's chat, come raid me, and I will give you all the content you can get. Seriously, come raid me. I gotta get some more viewers.
You might get him to take off his shirt. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
totally.
All right. Anyways, parasocial, love you guys. I'll catch you soon. You have a beautiful night.
All right, love you. Good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. You want to continue talking, or do you? What's the game plan here?
I can talk for a couple more minutes.
So,
yeah.
What's your opinion on our little project right now that we're trying to achieve? The retake the Republican Party.
I mean, it's
real Republican.
Admirable, but you're gonna need more than you and Connor.
There's gonna be more. Well, yeah. There's dozens of us. Dozens.
Whole dozens. You guys have like any big back? Like, is Connor like your biggest creator?
Currently, yeah, I'm trying to reach out to like a lot of different people, like former GOP politicians who like joined the Democratic Party, and also like a GOP.
Oh fuck! If you guys could get like Kissinger,
GOP politicians who also like retired from politics as well. I'm trying to. Like,
if you guys could get
people.
like Kissinger or Cheney on a stream, that would be big.
Who's the what the fuck is his name? The chairman of the FEC.
Brendan Carr.
Is it Carr?
Brendan Carr, chairman of the FCC. Yeah.
No, not the FCC. He's the one that did. No, Jerome Powell. That was, the Fed, not the FCC.
Oh, yeah, Jerome. Yeah. Powell.
Do you know that Jerome Powell is a Republican?
I did not know that.
Yeah, Jerome Powell, another Republican I can add to the list of people who are based and willing to stand up to the Trump administration. Yeah. So, getting in contact with like all these people has been tough because I'm like literally a nobody. But I've sent emails to like Thomas Massey.
Did you get any? Did you get any biter? Did you get any bites?
No, literally no biters. I've applied to fucking Jubilee to that. Their Jubilee is currently trying to schedule a. Was it 10 MAGA Republicans versus 10 anti-Trump Republicans?
Yeah, that'd be dope. Yeah.
I applied to them and no fucking response whatsoever. They haven't emailed me back. Nothing. I don't know
They probably get a lot of responses, or they get a lot of applications.
How many anti-MAGA Republicans surely are applying to them?
I'm sure if Connor applied, he'd probably get on because he's like big enough that.
Well, yeah. Well, Connor did apply.
Oh, he did. Oh, nice.
So, I know. Yeah, I applied. Connor applied. We'll see where that goes. Probably.
Yeah, I applied to one recently.
Did they email you at all?
No, they haven't gotten back to me. So, but yeah, I guess we'll see. But yeah, thanks for coming out here tonight, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks for breaking my eardrums. Really appreciate
I only got
that.
2 beers right now, so I think I'm gonna end the stream and I'm gonna sober up a little bit. I'll drink some caffeine. I'll drink a lot of water, and then when I'm feeling good, I'm gonna go out and do DoorDash. So.
All right, you do that. Have a good night.
I'm gonna show myself because Connor rated you, right?
No, he did not.
Oh, he didn't. Oh, bad.
Son of a bitch.
To anyone watching, you can follow me youtube.com/@northislive, or just look up North is live on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter @thatguysnorth, and yeah, you can also join my Discord server that is linked to my channel.
All right. Well, have a good night.
Yeah, have a good night. Appreciate the talk.
Have a good night, buddy. Good night. And have a good night to you too, my lovely audience. I appreciate you guys coming out. Make sure to like and sub one more time before I go, or else I will kill you. All right? My name is Corbin Joseph. You can find me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, the like, by the same name. Have a good night, and I will see you next time.